Sorry, Roberto, do you mind if I call you back later? I'm in bed with Emmanuel. Yes, the one you'd bang too. No, a threesome is premature at the moment. Do you think Patrick would be ready? We can talk about it.
How did I end up in the White Rabbit's hole? I can't remember. At some point, a hole opened up beneath me and I fell into the void.
Down, down, down. Would the fall never come to an end?
Don't talk nonsense, Kellerman. You remember it perfectly well. Make a little effort.
It's not a little effort, Doctor. It's an immense struggle. Remembering that period gives me the same horror as discovering a basket full of snakes. Furthermore, if I have to remember, there's one thing you mustn't forget, and that is that this diary is covered by professional secrecy. From some recent incidents, I've had the unpleasant feeling that confidential information has leaked out. And now let's get started.
There was nothing else to do, so Alice soon began talking again.
Going other ways. Antonio Che Guevara is 19 years old and one of those people who think one cannot live without politics. His real name is Antonio Chiquitano, but everyone calls him Che Guevara for obvious reasons. He also physically resembles Che, although to me, to be honest, he reminds me more of the TV Ulysses, an Ulysses with long hair and an Eskimo. I already knew him by sight, and I couldn't help by noticing him because someone like him, tall, with very black hair and beard, with a typically Southern Greek and severe beauty, certainly does not go unnoticed in the corridors of a high school. He always struck me as a very interesting guy, more for the expression in his eyes, serious and intelligent, than for his physical appearance, but I had never spoken to him, and I did not know his name. When I did, I was able to appreciate once again the irony of the demiurge.
Le puso cerco a la muerte, y aquí se queda la clara.
He is originally from Casaro, a small village in the province of Syracuse, and is to all intents and purposes the last of the children of 68, an orphan of PC and FGC, nostalgic for Lotta Continua and Potop. He feels uncomfortable in the minimalist culture of my generation, as if he were 20 years older. It is no coincidence that the professors treat him as an equal. He is an excellent student. He has won several scholarships and participated in some national competition of some sort, always placing in the top 10, something of which the headmaster has boasted on several occasions. But his real passion, as I said, is politics. He is the leader of Gioberti's left-wing group. Ours is an old-fashioned high school. There are those who still believe in these things of the past. Recently, he has also made a name for himself at Palazzo Nuovo. When he speaks in the assembly, everyone listens to him in religious silence, even the older students, avoiding racist jokes about his strange Italian with too many doubles and all those closed E's. I too listen to him, and not because I give a damn about politics, especially that politics. But Antonio is different. Antonio has what is called charisma. His gospel is old stuff, missionary merchandise. But while he scatters beads, broken glass, mirrors, and bottle bottoms on the table, he is truly convinced that they are diamonds, and people believe it because he believes it. He is a good speaker and an excellent listener, a rare gift in a politician. One day he told me that he owes it to Plutarch. I don't know what he meant by that, but I assented wholeheartedly to disguise my ignorance, and promised to ask him about it later. He listens to the other speakers with interest and respect, with his back against the wall and his arms folded. When his turn comes, he approaches the microphone with his head down, with the slightly waddling gait of a large Newfoundland, and almost always begins with a good-natured joke to ease tensions. Not that he is particularly witty, but he is likable. He likes to joke about his opponents, to dismantle those who take themselves too seriously. Once, a guy from CL said to him, "And remember that I speak before God." And Antonio, who was standing in front of him,
"Thank you. I didn't think you held me in such high regard."
Another one said to him about abortion, "And you call yourself a believer? I would really like to know how you behave in front of communion." And he, seraphic,
"I open my mouth and swallow the host."
Since one cannot simultaneously laugh and believe, the other usually gives up. This allows him to win practically without a fight, by forfeit of the opponent. Everyone at my school loves him, because he is never offensive and is in obvious good faith. Antonio is what you call a nice person, so it is out of the question that he could make a career in politics.
Gentili presidenze docenti, con la presenza intendiamo nuovamente scusarci per il disagio creatosi in seguito alla...
It is a morning at the end of January, and there is the usual self-management, a waste of time that we all pretend to believe in. And here I open a small parenthesis. It is not strange that we teenagers pretend to believe in it, but it is worrying that the adults, including the headmaster, do too. I am not a model student like Antonio, but in certain things I am more uncompromising than him. We have endless opportunities to fuck around, without having to occupy the school to do it. School offers important opportunities, but they are all connected with studying. If we decide that studying is not useful, which is certainly possible, then school should be abolished. But this mediocre mess is of no use to anyone, except perhaps to the teachers to pick up their salaries at the end of the month. Anyway, here I am in the lecture hall, sitting on the floor in the front row with my legs crossed. It's 10 o'clock in the morning and a guy on the stage is making an objectively unlistenable speech, a distillation of reactionary molasses. 2 or 3 students behind me are protesting. A broadside of whistles and "fuck you" starts up. The one who is speaking exclaims, "Here's your democracy." One at the back of the classroom yells, "Fuck you." Another shouts, "Fucking collaborationist." The situation degenerates. Antonio immediately intervenes. He grabs the microphone and shouts,
"Stop! What are you doing? They're gymnasium kids."
Definitely not blowing a good air. I get up to leave, but while I'm trying to deflect, I get bumped by a stray elbow, and my nose starts bleeding profusely. I run out to go to the bathroom. I can still see Antonio jumping off the stage and separating 2 jostling. Then nothing more, because I go into the bathroom. I open the tap and put my nose under the cold water. I have been sitting for about 10 minutes on the windowsill, with my handkerchief pressed to my nose when I see Antonio enter. Tall, imposing, determined, he approaches me.
"How are you doing?"
He asks worriedly. It's nothing. It's already stopping. I just hope I don't get a bruise.
"Let me see."
He tips my head back and examines my nose.
"You won't get a bruise. It's just an internal vein. It's still bleeding, though."
What's going on over there?
I said if it didn't stop, I would call the carabinieri. They stopped immediately. Bunch of pricks. Don't get up. You need to keep your head back. I'm sorry.
It's not your fault.
Yes, it is my fault. I organized this self-management.
But what does that matter? Besides, I feel fine, don't worry. He leans against the wash basin in front of me, casting wary glances at my hair, the earring on my left earlobe, the tight t-shirt, the strategically ripped jeans, the gold bracelet on my wrist, my hand holding my handkerchief, the silver band around my ring finger. For some time now, I have been dressing like this. It is a form of misdirection. The others focus on my physical appearance, which the males in my family criticize unreservedly, and my mother observes with the smug interest with which one observes a painting whose details are being defined, and they do not look beyond appearances, so they leave me alone. Antonia, of course, understands, but all communication between us has been broken for a long time. We maintain cold and polite relations. good morning, good evening. How are you? How's school? A senseless pantomime to which the formalities of everyday life force us. I don't know which of us is more disgusted. We both try to avoid each other and spend as little time as possible in that house. But she is my brother's girlfriend, and I live in that house. In any case, I can see with what eyes she looks at me when she meets me in the corridors. There is everything in those eyes: reproach, blame, longing, regret. And the regret is well justified, because she will never see her little boy again. He is dead now. Antonio comments with a smile.
Well, what can we say? At least we managed to eliminate the gender bias. It is difficult to distinguish you from the girls.
I appreciate his attempt to strike up a conversation and go along with it. Don't be fooled, it's nothing serious. It is not a symbol of anything. There is no claim, we are not even gay. It's just a matter of trend. He shakes his head, waving his hair, black and glossy like the feathers of a crow.
What a fucking generation.
You are part of it too. You are only a year older than me.
2, that is 1,000. And the next trend will be what? Shave your head? That won't do you any good to have blonde hair.
I am a natural blonde. I thought it was obvious. He bursts out laughing. He has a good laugh. He could leave since he has seen that I am fine, but he stays beside me. To pass the time, he looks at the green ceramic tiles in the bathroom, full of obscene drawings and marker writing. This gives him a cue to carry on the conversation.
Even the inscriptions have become stupid. It goes without saying that one cannot expect high literature from toilet inscriptions.
The position I am in prevents me from seeing the wall beside me. What does it say? I ask.
Marco loves Sylvia, but no. Barbara, get it to everyone. Get to know her, this Barbara. This one is hermetic. Davide is there. Then the usual crap. Paolo faggot. In this loo I did Christina. In this loo I did me.
The answer to the previous one.
DiBiase douchebag. Here we are in an area of archaeological finds. DiBiase retired 5 years ago. He was a good professor, but he could not keep discipline. Listen to this one. Let's self-manage our lives.
A feminist, an antique.
Yeah, let's see what we have here. The only difference between our violence and yours is that we are right. A fine example of wishful thinking for its own sake. And here, the best have lost every. I can't read. Foot.
Faith I venture without seeing.
Yes. Well, that's deep, come on.
How so?
You can't explain it like that in a school toilet. What's wrong with you? Your arm's shaking.
I am a bit tired of being in this position.
Give it here.
He takes the handkerchief and presses it gently against my nose. He looks around.
For a change, the floor is dirty. There's no soap on the wash basins, and there's no toilet paper in the toilets. They treat us like pigs.
Indeed, a typical ammonia stench leaks through the handkerchief.
What class are you in?
Second high school.
Which section?
I am in C.
Ah, so with Marinetti and San Marco. You're lucky. They're 2 great teachers. Strange, though, I've never noticed you in the corridors.
He means, of course, that I don't go unnoticed either. I answer in an evasive tone. I don't show myself around much. I prefer to stay in class, also because the girls have been taking strange liberties with me lately.
Meaning?
What do I know? One put her hand on my bottom yesterday while I was at the soda machine. Even in class, however, my classmates sit on my lap and put their hands on me. He bursts out laughing, shaking his head.
Change your look, boy, if you don't want them to take these confidences. With me they don't, who knows why.
He means that he is also attractive, but no one would ever dream of taking such liberties with him. I am annoyed to admit that I have made a fool of myself. It is obvious that it is up to me, and that I am the one who provokes it. Actually, I don't even know why I do it. I'm not interested in any of those girls, yet I try to draw their attention to my physical appearance. Maybe it's some kind of revenge for my humiliated and offended self-love. Maybe I'm simply trying to distract myself from my sickness with something to act as a float. Some nights I drown in a barrel of ink. I wish I were dead. But this he cannot know. Antonio looks at his watch. About 20 minutes have passed. I doubt that he is lingering there unwillingly, although I honestly don't think so. I think he likes me. In any case, I tell him, I'm wasting your time. You may go if you want. I immediately bite my tongue. That "you may go" sounds like a prince's concession to his subject, and I don't want to appear to him as the spoilt rich boy that I am. I blush violently, catching his unexpressed thought. Despite my grunge disguise, I give off an unmistakable scent of a chosen race.
Have you ever been to the Marazzi?
He asks me, looking away and pretending not to notice my embarrassment. Grateful for his discretion, I answer him. Of course, I pass by there every day on my way home.
I say in clubs at night. There's some interesting ones if you like music.
Being the fine strategist that he is leading me on my own ground. He is creating the conditions for it not to end up in that bathroom once my nose has stopped bleeding. I feel my heart widen. I love music, I tell them firmly, but it depends on what they play.
More like rock.
Ancient? Progressive or something?
What do you mean ancient? The best music is that of the 60s, 70s.
I shake my head with a half smile. It is a cliché. In my opinion, the best music starts in the late 70s.
I think you're wrong.
I know there have been greats before too, but in general, there is too much rhetoric.
Explain yourself better.
It's just their concept of music that I don't like. All those solos that don't serve any fucking purpose, the choruses and stuff like that. Or the opposite, they're experimental and cerebral, cold like King Crimson and Soft Machine.
Cold Soft Machine? What about Moon and June?
I admit it is a masterpiece, but it is an exception.
Wyatt is great.
Yes, you are right about that. His singing kills me. He puts his soul into that almost sultry voice. When he sings, he seems possessed by a demon.
All real musicians are possessed by a demon.
He is completely Dionysian, very sexy.
Sexy. Let's say that in music I look for something else.
Have you ever seen him play drums shirtless?
He hasn't played it since the accident in '73.
I know, unfortunately.
However, Las Vegas Tango alone is enough to consecrate him to genius.
The end of an ear, you say? Yes, it's brilliant, but there's too much avant-garde for my taste. You see, that's exactly what I was trying to say. In my opinion, in that period, there is a lack of a sense of measure. It goes from one excess to another. Let's not even talk about metal, terribly kitsch.
On this I agree.
The music I really like starts in the 80s.
Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince.
We really don't understand each other. Joy Division, Sonic Youth, Pixies, Fugazi, Slint, R.E.M., Nirvana. It's a long discourse. Maybe we'll talk about it again later, if you feel like it. Besides, I told you, something in the 60s, 70s I save. He laughs again.
Thank you for the concession. Keep your head down. Like, what are you saving?
For example, the brilliant precursors. Talking Heads, television.
Speaking of television, did you know that Tom Verlaine was born a poet?
No, but you can tell by everything, including his chosen stage name. But more than anything else, I find his guitar playing brilliant. Plus, he's bloody charming.
There must be a reason why Patti Smith fell head over heels for him.
His music is a mix of the intellectual and the sensual. Orny.
More intellectual than sensual, I would say, like most East Coast music. A track like Venus de Milo is pure Dadaism.
I prefer the earlier version, the demo tapes from '74. It drips schizophrenia from every pore. He looks at me sincerely amazed.
How do you know that version?
I have my own channels.
It just said stop again. Did you feel low? No. Huh? I stood up, walked out
In general, I like the rough versions more than the finished work. In a way, the finished product is dead, whereas in the rehearsals, you feel the life pulsating. Their greatest for me is the blow-up. I much prefer it to Marquee Moon. Think of a track like Little Johnny Jewel, an absolute masterpiece.
You have a point. Studio albums fail to capture that raw edge of on-stage improvisations. But among the previous music, is there really nothing you like?
Yes, of course, there is something. For example, Father Shout, the intro to Atom Heart Mother. It is unquestionably brilliant. There are also individual tracks that are perfect in their genre, like the musical box. But in general, there's too much emphasis. It is a congenital defect of that kind of music. Think of Queen. I'm interested in substance, not rhetoric. As a concept of music, I liked the Stones in their early days, before they started to make fun of themselves, until the death of Brian Jones in short. In the beginning, they were perfect. Short, intense songs, no frills.
For example?
Gimme Shelter, but without Lisa Fisher in her vocals. The raw one, only with Mick Jagger's voice.
No Beatles?
Yes, I like the Beatles, even though they are the progenitors of a somewhat ruffian style of music that is typically British. Personally, I prefer the Americans.
And then what do you listen to?
Other things, some of them quite complicated.
Such as?
I pull the handkerchief away from my nose, just to realize that it is still bleeding, but less so, and continue the conversation by dabbing it from time to time. Pere Ubu, Neil Young, Frank Zappa, Tim Buckley, Itsuro Shimoda.
Tim Buckley and who?
A kind of Japanese Neil Young. Of course, I also like Don Van Vliet.
Captain Beefheart?
Yes, I see you know him. He shrugs his shoulders with the expression of someone who says, "What do you take me for?"
What kind of connoisseur would I be if I didn't know him?
In my opinion, the game is between him and Tim Buckley, especially if you consider that they started back in the 60s. They are very different, but equally great. Tim had a soul made of music. The Captain is a genius of desecration.
On this I can agree. They're both remarkable experimenters. Although, as I repeat, I would also put Robert Wyatt in the mix.
Let's put him in too. Anyway, speaking of Tim, I particularly like his early period when he was 19 and had that neurasthenic angel voice, as in Pleasant Street.
Pleasant Street. Oh, you know she's back again. You will, you steal, you feel, you need now.
It's a song about drugs. Did you know that?
I got it. You wheel, you steal, you feel, you kneel.
By the way, how do you do with drugs?
Who, me?
It's just the two of us in here, I think.
I do not deal.
Meaning?
I don't care. I think it is only to be considered for possible suicide.
What do you think of Heroin by Lou Reed?
I don't like it.
In its genre, it is a masterpiece.
Maybe, but I hate it.
Why?
How should I know? I hate it.
It's my wife, and it's my life, because a mana to my vein leads to a center in my head, and then I'm better off than
dead. Shit, I stained my shirt.
Don't shake your head. It is too early to remove the handkerchief. You are still bleeding.
He wets a washcloth and gently rubs the bloodstains that have fallen on my chest. I have a controversial relationship with Velvet. I tell him to justify myself.
It was understood. Anyway, to get back to Tim, I much prefer the Star Sailor period.
I smiled. Intellectual tastes.
I am an intellectual. Otherwise, I could not appreciate Van Vliet, could I? With the Captain, we are far beyond the boundaries of pop rock.
More than anything, he takes all genres and turns them inside out.
Singing who you to me, thunderbolts caught easily, shouts the truth peacefully. Electricity.
Did you know that he beats his musicians until he gets exactly the result he has in mind?
Yes, I have heard that. Genius and unruliness.
But don't you listen to classical music?
Little. I need to understand my time, and classical does not help me. I feel that I am not ready yet. When my blood calms down, I think I will listen to Bach.
So far it hasn't calmed down. It's still coming out through the nose.
Oh man, does it never stop?
Why Bach?
For Bach, music is the language of God, like mathematics.
What about jazz?
I don't listen to jazz.
That is a flaw, from my point of view. That's why you don't really appreciate Soft Machine.
I can't help it. I don't like jazz.
Well, you said you like Little Johnny Jewel. It's kind of jazzy in the middle part.
Like, but then no, it's not. It's punk, lo-fi, and ramshackle. Pure genius.
I guess I'll tear you up on music.
I shake my head with a smirk. I guess not.
I guess we have to play on the field.
Which is where?
In some pub in Turin.
Where do you usually go?
At Dr. Sachs. They do a bit of all kinds of music. There are also some new groups playing unreleased music.
I think I'll go there tomorrow.
Okay.
He stays next to me without saying anything more. I lean the back of my head against the wall, staring at the ceiling, and as the last drops of blood run warm and sweetish down my throat, I realize, with sudden amazement, that for the first time in many months, I feel almost well. Moon in hell. For a few weeks now, I've gotten into the habit of spending evenings at the Marazzi with Antonio and his friends. Not that theirs is a great life. They talk about politics and occupations. They drink beer in pubs and sing songs from the 70s, accompanying themselves on the guitar, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, the inevitable Guccini's locomotive. In the midst of those 1968 followers, I feel like an extra from the Strawberry Statement. Yet I don't know why. When I'm with them, my unease almost disappears, probably precisely because it's all a play, and this allows me to assume another identity. When I go out, I hang old Emmanuel on the coat rack and leave him there until I get back. Wearing him again when I get home takes a lot of effort. I try not to think about it and go to bed straight away, comforting myself with the thought that tomorrow night I'll be someone else again and I won't be sick anymore. The keystone of all this is Antonio. There is an extraordinary strength in him and an equally extraordinary ingenuity. With him, I feel reassured, almost serene. It also has a beneficial effect on my scholastic performance. He has a very high school average and a first-rate culture for a simple student. And I, in order not to feel too inferior, study much more than before, and I read a lot of books. Consequently, my results are overall good, even without the need for private lessons, and my parents let me go out every night without making a fuss. I'm careful not to tell him about my unease. I hate being a victim, and it wouldn't help to make me feel better. He senses my mood but respects my desire for privacy. One evening, however, he asked me point blank,
Is there something wrong, Emmanuel?
Displaced, I denied the evidence. Know why?
I do not know. I never see you fully involved. It's like you're always at the window.
Useless to deny. Indeed it is so, I replied, and I tightly closed the topic. Antonio realized that he shouldn't venture further into that mined terrain. After a few minutes of silence, with the intuition that characterizes him, he once again moved me to my favorite terrain.
Would you like to learn to play the guitar?
It was something I had always wanted. Very much, I replied.
Do you want me to teach you?
Yes, sure.
Let's start tomorrow.
The next day, Antonio taught me the first chords, A, E, D. He explained to me that with these 3 chords you can play entire songs, for example, Battisti's The Sun Song. I practice every day under his guidance. He corrects the position of my fingers and teaches me less and less simple chords. I'm getting better day by day, although of course, I'll never reach the level of a real guitarist. I sing too, another thing I've always wanted but never done, except in my room by myself. My voice is light years away from Cobain's Yara, but the overall effect is not bad. Also because my English pronunciation is quite good. Meanwhile, frequenting alternative clubs with him, I observe what surrounds me. In those circles there's a lot of dope, as they call it. Let's say classic dope, no crack and synthetic drugs, more smoke and LSD. Antonio disapproves of what he defines as a bad habit. He doesn't say too much about it. I think so as not to appear moralistic. He only allows himself a few joints every now and then, but it seems that he considers it his duty to deal with social centers, where drugs are at home. I don't know why he does it. Perhaps because the so-called alternative leftists are 20 years behind on everything like him. As I said, I observe and take notes without participating in any of those strange ceremonies. The first thing I noticed was that smoking marijuana dulls the brain. Basically, it produces the same effect described by Homer for lotophagy. Those who smoke it feel happier and better, even though in reality they are only more stupid. This confirmed what I already knew, namely that there is an inversely proportional relationship between intelligence and happiness. This has been evident to me ever since we came into contact with the Tantras, a group of self-proclaimed actors who get high on marijuana and then, under the influence of that stuff, stage strange improvisations in a basement of the Macondo. Body expression, they call it. Their shows derive from those improvisations, basically collective hallucinations, sometimes fascinating, sometimes just exhibitionistic. I enjoy attending group rehearsals, even if I feel annoyed by certain performances. I don't consider it necessary or interesting to get naked on stage, much less mimic sexual actions. I'm not a voyeur, It's not one of my perversions. The author of their plays, if one can call those assemblages of emotional interjections and intellectual brainwaves that way, is the girlfriend of Bastiano, the leader of the group. The two have what is called an open relationship, in the sense that they do what they like with whoever they like. Her name is Elettra Giordano, and she is a pale and blonde 19-year-old. A lucid hysteric who would like to do heavy drugs but doesn't have the courage, and therefore vents her tensions with sex. But she vents them badly. I know for sure, because for a while she vented them on me. And here, doctor, I open another parenthesis. With her, for the first time, I discovered the meaning of the expression throwing oneself away. It is a strange and dangerous syndrome, which consists in experiencing enjoyment in identifying with the humors and secretions of one's body. I could define it as the pleasure of decomposition, a kind of cupio dissolvi that assails the human being when he has lost his self-respect. Every evening, after rehearsals, she and I spent a couple of hours together in her car. I can't say that I really liked it, but neither did I dislike that relationship distorted like an acid flash, meaningless, and without a future, hastily consumed on the banks of the Po River in the midst of passers-by, hidden only by the fogged-up windows. She said ridiculous things to me like, "Fuck me soon. You have to come quickly. They see us. I want you right away. Take me now." Then she started screaming. Loudly, I covered her mouth and told her, "Are you stupid? They're arresting us." But I always had the doubt that it was part of the script and that she physically didn't feel anything. At least she didn't want the condom. I'd been missing that strong flavor for a long time, even though it was so different from what I remembered. But soon I was pissed off with her mental jerks. There was nothing true in that convulsive agitation. It was like letting the propeller of a blender jolt here and there. The result was mush of matter with no trace of soul. Furthermore, I realized that Antonio didn't like it, so I gave it up and never set foot in Macondo again. Too bad, it was a nice place, but in Turin there is certainly no shortage of interesting pubs. The Divine Comedy, for example. Even if it's a bit out of the way, it's one of my favorite places. It's divided into 3 floors, one for each Dantesque realm. Paradise is occupied by a restaurant with a terrace, Purgatorio by a cocktail area, Hell by a sort of solid brick crypt that hosts good live programming, ideal for a music lover like me. Strange encounters occur in Hell. One evening, during an intermission of the show, I was sitting at a table drinking my Coke, while Antonio on the terrace of the Paradiso smoked a joint with some friends. Suddenly the lights in the hall went out, and 2 silhouettes appeared on the stage against the light. The 2 began to dance in the dark to the rhythm of the bongos played by a guy sitting below. Then the spotlights came on. There was a bang, a light bulb exploded. He was a guy with a nice body, curly blonde hair, and an androgynous face. She, tall and aristocratic, wore a jumpsuit, black like her hair, had very long legs, and danced with pink leg warmers on her ankles. She had the face of a doll, perfect and expressionless, and she moved with the agility of a feline, in sudden leaps and jerks. Then she'd stop and arch her shoulders in a way I can't describe. Who's that girl? I asked Bastiano, sitting next to me.
Her name is Michelle.
And last name?
Hirschbaumer. She is a dancer at the Teatro Nuovo.
She's a spectacular pussy.
Don't get any illusions. She's too old for you.
How old is she?
22.
Yes, it was just to know.
And besides, she's engaged to him.
Him who?
Roberto Mora, the dancer.
I wonder what a girl like that is doing at the Marazzi. She tastes like upper class a mile away.
In your opinion?
I honestly don't know. He mentioned a guy in a leather jacket sitting 3 tables over.
He's our pusher.
During the ballet, the girl looked at me for a moment with her shark's eyes, black and empty. I had the distinct sensation of hearing a click. After the show, I waited for her outside, but I didn't see her. She must have gone out the back door. After 10 minutes, I wasn't thinking about it anymore. I was completely absorbed in a conversation that Antonio was making to me. I start by saying that, even if I am a typical representative of Generation X, I feel completely alien to the mentality of my peers. Antonio is intelligent, and he understood it immediately. It is evident from everything. From the fact that I don't go to discos, from my musical tastes, from my readings, from the way I speak and write. He says I'm a typical high school product, but apart from the fact that he is more so than me, it really annoys me that he trivializes my way of being like this. My diversity was born with me. Classical high school has nothing to do with it. Already in middle school, my classmates told me that I spoke strangely, and in fact, I can't stand the expressive sloppiness of my peers. In their mouths, everything becomes intolerably squalor, and I'm not referring to the word fuck that is heard all the time. That's the least. I use it too if needed. There are no A words and B words. Words are words. The important thing is to use them appropriately. The point is that human communication cannot be reduced to primitive interjections. The way we express ourselves reflects the way we think. This is known, but few realize that language in turn shapes thought. If you get used to expressing yourself like a savage, you will become a savage. It's mathematical. I especially find appalling the way the girls express themselves. Their excessive and imprecise punctuation, their 4 or 5 exclamation points. One is enough. I don't know how they can think I like someone writing that way. A girl who expresses herself like this, fucks while chewing gum, is a vulgar and disgusting person. Today, people speak a kind of ramshackle slang. A language like this is impractical from a literary point of view, but a more evolved style would have no credibility in a novel set in our day. It's the times that are vulgar, the language only reflects them. Thus, a writer is caught between 2 fires. Either he chooses verisimilitude, or he chooses decency. The main difficulty are the dialogues. For example, a character like me, in order to be credible, should express himself as boys of my age and my latitudes do. He should say fuck or shit at every step. The result is a half-autistic caveman. Too bad that this troglodyte doesn't look like me at all. When I hear him talk like that, I'd slap him. I'd like to throw the book away, ask for damages from the author. Who is that idiot? Oh yeah, I forgot, it's me. I have asked myself several times if this is a typical problem of our times, or if it was the same in the past. Perhaps the writers of the past simply didn't care about verisimilitude. Or maybe, who knows, people really did express themselves in a much more formal way. Come on, continued Marguerite. We're talking silly things. Give me your hand, and we'll go back to the dining room. They mustn't understand the meaning of our absence. Go if you want, but I ask your permission to stay here. Why? Because your happiness hurts me too much. Then I'll be sad. And what about the omniscient narrator, the one who sees things from above, and always knows everything about everyone? Where is he? Who is he? How does he read inside people? The night passed quickly, and the morning blushed to find him still clinging to Matilda. Drunk with pleasure, the monk got up from the siren's luxurious bed. He no longer thought with shame of his own incontinence, nor did he fear the vengeance of the offended heaven. I really wish I could write like that. Then, in more recent times, the streams of consciousness take over, the inner dimensions that are intertwined with facts and cannot be told impersonally. She had to make a supernatural effort not to die when a beautifully timed cyclonic power lifted her by the waist and stripped her of her intimacy with 3 paws and ripped her apart like a bird. She managed to give thanks to God for having been born before losing consciousness in the terrible pleasure of that unbearable pain, wallowing in the steaming quagmire of the hammock, which absorbed the explosion of her blood like blotting paper. Beautiful to read, but if your name is not Marquez, you better forget it. To conclude, this is not an effect of classical high school. It is a problem that I have always asked myself. Well, despite knowing all this about me, Antonio has the annoying habit of involving me in the contempt he feels for my generation and often catechizes me as if I were an idiot. I only put up with it because, as always, he's in good faith. You are uncritical, you don't think, you don't know how to suffer, you just want to have fun. You are not used to the exercise of reason. You are empty. You are easy prey to false myths, always on the verge of fanatic exaltation. Be careful, Emmanuel. Fascism and fundamentalism have common roots. Violence and mysticism are 2 sides of the same coin, and they take hold of your generational void, etc., etc. One evening he gave me a speech that I almost remember by heart. I was impressed for various reasons, including the fact that he had invited me for the first time to go up to his attic in San Massimo Street. My heart was pounding a bit, and not just because I had climbed 5 flights of stairs without a moment's rest. His den, as he calls it, is simply but tastefully furnished, with exposed white-painted wooden beams, a few modern carpets on the parquet floor, and several posters on the walls, including a blow-up of the 4th Estate. Like many people on the left, Antonio comes from a rather wealthy family. His parents have no problem paying for his studies and the house where he lives. He is an only child and is giving them a lot of satisfaction. In the center of the living room stands a large black leather sofa. As soon as I entered that evening, Antonio invited me to sit down and asked me what I wanted to drink. I opted for a pineapple juice. He laughed, went to the kitchen, and returned with the sodas. He poured me the juice, but added coconut milk and rum, claiming it was better this way. He didn't sit next to me, but on the chair opposite. He poured himself an alcoholic drink, which I believe was tequila, took a sip and said to me,
"So we've determined that Moon in June isn't too experimental for you."
"No, indeed," I confirmed.
"Perfect then."
He got up and turned on his Pioneer SX.
"It's from 1980, an unsurpassed model in terms of sound quality. Those of today are not up to par. For the speakers, I was undecided between Allison and Klipsch, but then I chose the former, and I think I did well. The turntable is a Thorens, of course."
He put the vinyl of Third on the turntable. After a short rustling, the notes of Moon in June began to spread through the room. That damn track really has something special. Addictive. Once it gets in your head, it never comes out. "You'll end up converting me to 70s music," I told him, joking but not too much. He shook his head skeptically.
"Let's hope."
He began to speak, but his words reached me as if from elsewhere. They merged with the evolutions of Wyatt's free singing, followed by the fantastic pursuits of Ratledge's keyboards. I too could not help chasing them mentally, going up, down, gliding on his pataphysical falsetto.
And though each little song was less than 3 minutes long, Mike squeezed a solo in.
However, this did not distract me from Antonio's speech. On the contrary, it imprinted it on my senses, as well as on my memory. I observed him by looking over his noble figure, his severe features like a Mediterranean prince, his thick raven hair.
They might be hits. Who gives an after all? Tell me, how would you feel?
I listened to him while sipping my cocktail of pineapple, coconut, and rum. And that mixture of words, music, and piña colada descended sweetly and strongly inside me and stunned me. It is one of the most evocative memories I have.
It's not your fault. We're the ones who got it all wrong.
Antonio always uses the first person plural when he alludes to the generation of 68, to which he ideally belongs.
We talked on ourselves. With our odious seriousness, we have created the type of eternal adolescent who ages without ever becoming an adult, half alienated, pissed off between global renunciation and violent self-assertion, between drugs and Molotov cocktails, between anarchy and terrorism, a pure wishful thinking. We have not changed society at all. Those who have not integrated have fled. They have created dens, underground shelters. They have lost their way. You are our necessary consequence, generation of the void, which is the child of our emptiness.
I didn't exactly understand the historical and ideological references, but I felt emotionally on his side. I listened to him fascinated, with my head leaning back against the back of the sofa, running my forefinger along the rim of the glass. I hoped he would continue the conversation by sitting next to me, but he didn't. We said goodbye around midnight. Afterwards, we continued to hang out for a few weeks as good friends. But when our story finally took the turn I wanted, it had a completely different taste from what I had imagined. The sticky taste of a dip in mud. I got up with my feathers muddy, smeared, heavy, dirty. I no longer knew how to fly.
I'm not the person that I thought I was. I couldn't tell you where the ache came from. Maybe born in a storm beneath an angry sky. Though it's raining in my head nearly all the time. Though it's raining in my head and I don't know why. All the love, all the kindness, all your best laid plans couldn't stop me from becoming the way that I am. You toiled on a bridge to cross the gap inside, but I couldn't help you build it, and I don't know why. No, I couldn't let you build it, but God knows you tried. Was I born with a heart in my heart? The fatal fault at the start. Tell me it's inevitable that I'd end up with scars.
That is, precisely at the level.
What I'm trying to tell you is that we have to find each other. You understand, all together to work. The rest comes as a consequence.
But we are already there. The point is another, that is, what the fuck, is that here we don't know what to do, what to work on, that's the problem. And what the fuck?
You didn't understand me.
Meaning what?
I meant...
I already said my opinion last time, but there were only 4 of you. But I think they understood me at least. Of course, to be understood, sometimes you have to insult, but at least this way you clarify once and for all.
I wasn't there. I don't know what you said.
I mean, I don't feel like repeating the whole scene, also because I'd feel really bad. It's not that I have it with Electra who wrote the text. That is, in essence, I said that I don't give a shit about doing shows with you. I want to do theater, which is different.
It seems to me that the problem is well, a matter of choices. Doing theater can be a lifestyle choice, because there are 4 types of theater, which are rough, spontaneous, sacred, and moral. It's a question of life choice. Look, for example, at Chota Malina. She's, in short, was a student of Grachowski.
Sorry, I didn't understand the difference between rough and spontaneous.
I mean, it's implied. I have some notes here that, if you want, I can read to you.
Wait a moment, I think maybe. That is, I don't know if I can explain myself. That is, first of all, there should be another problem. That is, that of availability, of collective commitment. That is, I wonder, how many of us are willing to guarantee a constant presence?
What does presence mean? Even now, we are present. Every time we are there, we are present.
I did not explain myself. I meant the presence to be serious.
I still do not understand.
Maybe Bastiano meant the constant presence at rehearsals.
I mean, no, not quite. I meant presence in the sense of commitment. Do you understand me?
Oh, well, I understand. But you don't take into account.
I did not understand. In your opinion, then, to be present, you have to work. So one doesn't work if he doesn't do something concrete?
Of course, Panu.
But it's not true. Not true at all.
I mean, fuck Panu. If we don't commit ourselves, what the hell are we doing here?
You don't have to commit to being present, and you don't need to be present to commit.
I repeat my speech. If we're here to get serious, fine. But if we're here to waste time, I'm not in. I want to do theater, not show.
Sorry, Emilio. What sense?
Look, I'll explain it to you with an example. A book can be read or read. Do you understand the difference?
I mean, I think I have grasped. Look, it's not clear, huh?
I'll explain it to you with another example. One can commit oneself like this or like this. You understand?
Meaning what?
Sure, what the fuck? That's what I've been saying for an hour.
Alright, fine, but then I didn't explain myself. Commitment, presence, everything is fine, but about what?
How about what? About what we do.
Well, what do we do?
But we meet, we do, we see all together. That is, we find each other, and something is born from the community experience.
Because, you know, to live in, those weird people who, that is, they live for the future, and they live together. That is, precisely on a community level.
Of course, life in common and mystical conception of the theater.
Bullshit. The greatness of the living was called Julian Beck. And Grotowski, if one dares to express a doubt, kicks his ass out.
Well, what does this have to do with it?
It has to do with it. You won't think by chance that they're talking bullshit like us at the laboratorium.
Well, but what do you mean by that?
Few lies, guys. Art is an individual and not a collective fact. It is the directors who make the theater.
I mean, I want to say one thing. If we start with ideas like this, it's better to stop immediately.
Do I have to castrate myself to please the community?
But who castrates you, Electra?
Yet we drank a few beers in Venice and broke love.
In my opinion, the point is another, that there is no commitment. Now I ask myself, are you willing to commit yourself?
And give them back with commitment. What the fuck, Bastiano? You've already asked before, and I've already answered you. Commit to what?
But wait a minute, for goodness sake, what the fuck? First, let's hear if there is this availability.
For my part, as far as possible, compatibly with all my commitments.
In short, if I haven't misunderstood, doing theater comes after another 15 or 20 commitments if there is time and desire left. Feel them, those inspired by the living in Grotowski.
Come on, Electra, let's be realistic. One day we will earn our bread, and not with the theater.
And are you going to tell me? It is you who want the mystical experience. I do my mystical trips in private.
Do you know? I don't think I'll do any more theater with you.
And why?
I want to commit myself 100% 60 doesn't fit me anymore. It will suit you, but not me.
And then you leave.
I mean, sorry, I didn't understand. Am I leaving?
If you don't like it, yes, you leave.
No. Now you explain to me. I expect you to explain to me why the fuck I should leave.
Because you don't like what suits us.
I mean, but it's crazy stuff, but then you don't understand shit. But what did I talk to do, if you didn't even listen to me?
I would like to know which of you listen to me!
Come on, Emilio, don't make it so long.
Oh no. Now I want to know. Come on, Serenella, repeat what I just said.
Come on.
See? You can't repeat it. I talk to the wall.
But fuck you, Emilio.
Now I want to clarify once and for all. Listen carefully. First of all, I claim I have the right to change my mind.
Very good. But you keep your changes to yourself.
Listen, Panuccio, at least try not to be a fucking hypocrite. Are you calling me dictator?
In practice, yes.
It's not that he wants to be a dictator, it's that he doesn't want to suffer the dictatorship of the majority.
And then nobody calls me reactionary. Asshole perhaps, but not reactionary. What the fuck?
Sorry. I wanted to say something too. That is, it seems to me, I believe that the problem right now is more of content than anything else. This is what I wanted to say. It is clear that we'll put in a minimum of effort, as we have always done. Now, our problem is to find a meeting point that is, in short, to understand what kind of theater we want to do. That is, precisely at the level of content.
What the fuck? If I've been asking for half an hour, commit to what? And you keep spewing a lot of bullshit.
That is, after all, it is not the result that counts, but having had a good time together. That is, this is the important thing.
Oh no, I'm interested in the result.
But the result comes later.
You have to have this clear in mind right from the start.
That's not the result, that's the goal.
Oh well, the goal. And what is ours?
I think it will be better to do a round of opinions. Who wants to start?
I know very well what I want. Something violent and lyrical at the same time. Like Pasolini.
Which Pasolini?
Well, if you want, a mix between Salah and The Flower of the 1001 Nights.
Sorry, Emilio. What about Pasolini?
But no, I was just saying it.
Maybe Pasolini.
I mean, shit, it's easy to say Pasolini.
But no, I said Pasolini to give an idea.
Shit, but it would be formidable to recover Pasolini now. That is, Pasolini is always Pasolini. I mean, it's an idea.
I said Pasolini to give an idea. It's not that I want to stage Pasolini.
Yes, but Pasolini brings with him a whole 60s problem.
It's easy to say Pasolini.
Shit, guys, stop! I said it was just an example.
I mean, I still haven't heard any other opinions than Emilio's. Who wants to talk? What do you say, Kellerman?
Huh?
I go back to saying that I'm available. Even just 60%, I mean. But I reserve the right to drop everything if it doesn't satisfy me.
I will go back to what was said before. That is, if we want a sacred theater, let's say, or a moral one.
I just need to know what will happen.
But I just don't know what to say. I don't understand you. Nothing. It's clear that tonight I just can't explain myself. What the fuck? I've already answered you.
What the fuck? Bastiano, you've done nothing but repeat that it will be done. It will be done. What will be done?
I've already said it. We will do what emerges from our collective experience.
And what will emerge?
And what the fuck do I know?
Mister Tamburino, non ho voglia di scherzare, rimettiamoci la maglia, i tempi stanno per cambiare. Siamo figli delle stelle, pronipoti di Sua Maestà il denaro. Razzismo non mi fa guardare quei programmi demenziali con tribune elettorali. E avete voglia di mettervi profumi e deodoranti, siete come sabbie mobili, tirate giù. C'è chi si mette degli occhiali da sole per avere più carisma e sintomatico mistero. Oh, com'è difficile restare padre quando i figli crescono e le mamme imbiancano. Quante squallide figure che attraversano il paese, come misera la vita negli abusi di potere. Sul ponte spento la bandiera bianca, sul ponte spento la bandiera bianca. Sul ponte spento la bandiera bianca, sul ponte spento la bandiera bianca.
Ode to Jealousy. Sitting on the sofa in the living room, I leaf through a magazine and absent-mindedly listen to the rhythmic cadence of the tennis dribble, interrupted by exclamations of satisfaction or disappointment. I don't want to watch the game. I already know that Michael will humiliate Gianluca and Massimiliano, mediocre players. The house is deserted on this April afternoon. My future mother-in-law has gone away for the bi-weekly ritual of shopping, which she celebrates every Tuesday and Thursday in the company of two friends, with whom she walks along Via Roma searching the shop windows and spotting the more exclusive items, such as the magnificent décolleté by Sergio Rossi and the refined carré by Hermès that she wore yesterday at lunch. I eagerly enjoy every moment of this rare solitude, hoping that it will last as long as possible and that Michael will give his opponents revenge. I'm fine like this, in the company of myself. The one person I desperately need is from the past. Exactly 1 year ago, we were sitting on the river bank and talking about platonic eros. It is probable that I only imagined it, indeed dreamed it. Now that I'm awake, I cling to a mediocre paraphernalia halfway between Epicureanism and Stoicism. I repeat to myself that it was right like this, that everything is fine as long as nothing disturbs my inner serenity, made up of tiny everyday things. Take one step after another. After all, this is life. Be satisfied with what you have. No one has the right to claim happiness and so on. But it's not true. I'm not serene either. I don't feel at ease in this house anymore unless, like now, I'm completely alone. A few evenings ago, while I was waiting for Michael's return, I found myself face to face with the engineer. Mrs. Helena had gone to sleep, tormented by one of her frequent migraines. He was silent and drank whiskey sitting in an armchair, while I absent-mindedly watched TV. At times I felt the weight of his blue eyes on my legs. After a few minutes of embarrassment, I got up saying I had to go home. Kellerman walked me to the door and suddenly, in the doorway, he tried to kiss me. I released myself from his grip with a feline flash, telling him, "You want to joke, engineer?" I ran out and came home with my heart in my mouth. His smell of whiskey and aftershave lingered on me. I took a shower, but my night was troubled by strange dreams. I thought about Emmanuel's words about his father. I measured the distance between his instinctive intuition and his brother's blind rationality, and this made me feel even more in danger. Michael will never know who he is surrounded by. He is too honest a person to assume dishonesty in others, but this, far from being a good thing, is a very serious limitation. And what's worse, I will never be able to tell him about it because I should start with myself. I ended up in a blind alley from which I don't know how to escape. At times, the prospect of our marriage takes on the contours of a nightmare for me. I am constantly tempted to screw everything up on a pretext. Despite his lack of intuition, Michael must have sensed my uneasiness, and is planning to move into a house all to ourselves, which he has already located in Strada Cassano on the Pichetto Hill, a modern villa on one floor, surrounded by a not-too-big garden. It's beautiful. I feel that I could be fine there. Michael, however, is still undecided about the purchase. That house, however pretty, is certainly not the status symbol that his parents expect from their eldest son. It doesn't even have a swimming pool. Therefore, he is considering the possibility of buying a much more prestigious house in the same area. I'm trying to dissuade him. I'm sure we could be fine there, away from his relatives. But the real problem is Emmanuel. That boy has produced an irreparable damage in me. It is above all in order not to be forced to see him that I would like to leave this house, but at the same time I am counting the minutes that separate me from the moment in which I will be able to see him again. I know perfectly well that he is no longer the boy I used to hang out with a year ago, but he is all I have left of him. Every day I wait impatiently for his return. Only when I hear his footsteps on the gravel in the garden do I start breathing again. His presence hurts me as much as it is indispensable to me. The thought that sooner or later I'll see him enter this house hugging a girl is a constant torture for me. At the same time, I couldn't survive without him next to me, no matter how. In summary, I'm freaking out. Suddenly, the alarm siren emits a deafening sound. The flashing lights begin to flash. I feel that he is here. My heart is pounding. He enters the living room with his gym bag slung over his shoulder and closes the door with a foot, holding a book in one hand and a glass in the other. I look away, unable to hide my emotion. He has always been beautiful in my eyes, but now the sight of him stops my heart in my chest. Emmanuel at 17 has become embarrassingly beautiful. He has grown further, his shoulders have widened, his jaw has taken on a more precise outline, the features of his face have become more defined, his voice deeper. He has let his hair grow down to his shoulders and divides it in the middle like a girl, letting it fall in disarray. He doesn't show off his physical means. Indeed, he seems to wear them with the same indifferent carelessness with which he wears his jeans ripped on his knees. He doesn't hold his beautiful head up. His gaze turned to the ground avoids meeting that of the others. This surly shyness makes him even more attractive. At times I seem to go mad with jealousy, but I stare stubbornly into the sun until the creatures of the night disappear. I've given up on him forever. I know the myth. The mortal who commits hybris with a god ends up incinerated. Like certain splendid jellyfish, Emmanuel burns even from a distance. Of all this, he is perfectly unaware. He nods to me. His face is reddened by the sun, his hair is pulled back in a ponytail. He wears a white necklace around his neck and a gold circlet on the lobe of his left ear. His cheek is starting to get a delicate gray shadow. His gaze with dusty tones is underlined by light dark circles like bluish brushstrokes. I feel unjustifiable irritation. You don't say hello? He turns towards me, 3/4 of a strange face, sweet and angular like that of Botticelli's boys. A face that is not exactly what I remembered.
I just said hello.
I feel like arguing with him. I find another foothold to argue with, and you don't offer.
This juice is for you.
Like any good tennis player, Emmanuel always manages to surprise his opponent. He hands me the glass and opens the book. What a nice thought. What do I owe it to?
I'm trying to somehow buy your favors.
He gives me a silly smile.
Not the ones you think. I have a Greek test tomorrow.
I don't think anything. What makes you think I'll help you?
You always have done it.
You don't need me anymore.
Oh yes, I do.
He places the open book in front of me.
Aeolian dialect.
Impossible to escape his request for help in the face of the most abstruse of Greek dialects. All right, come on. Sit here. He slides into a seat beside me with slender hips sheathed in tight designer jeans, so different from those of a year ago, frayed and tattered that he swung off over his head and tossed on the grass before running to the creek with his dog. He turns to look for something in the bag. His bent back gives off an acrid and warm smell. This reminds me that this morning he played the final of the volleyball tournament. How was the game?
We won,
he says absently, while leafing through the book in search of the passage to translate.
Those of the other team didn't have good lifters, and then the cheering was all for us.
Especially the female one, I guess.
It could be,
he replies vaguely. The ball rolls ignored out of bounds. I'd hoped it was Alcaeus, but predictably it's Sappho's ode to jealousy. I used to love it, but I've come to hate it. I find the teacher's lack of imagination regrettable. I approach the explanation being careful to keep it on a technical level. Quatrains of 3 hendecasyllables, plus final Adonius, Solosis, Baritonesis, phonetic changes, etc. He follows me in silence, taking notes. I conclude, as always, with a question. Try reading in metrics. Be careful not to confuse the rhythm with that of the Phoenician hendecasyllable. It is a very common mistake. The dactyl is in 3rd position, not in 2nd. He carries out the request with surprising ease. Well, you've improved a lot, I see.
I hang out with some good students.
I'm glad to hear it. Now translate.
Equal to the gods he seems to me.
And as he translates the all-too-famous ode, a silver lock that has escaped from his ponytail brushes his face, and as his fingers caress the lines of the Greek text.
And smile softly, and this makes my heart leap in my chest.
The blue of the dark circles draws a pale trace under the unnaturally dark eyelashes.
Immediately, a subtle fire runs under my skin. With my eyes, I see nothing more. My ears are buzzing.
They rumble, they don't buzz. And the sparkle of the gold earring pierces his lobe, while the necklace rests delicately on his collarbones, drawing the border between the neck and the chest, which rises in regular breaths under the chaste white shirt. His body blooms with feminine charms. A beautiful butterfly has emerged from the chrysalis I loved, but it's not exactly the kind of metamorphosis I had hoped for. A few days ago, I unintentionally witnessed a tirade from the engineer Kellerman about Emmanuel's clothing, too different from anything that has ever been seen in this house. He listened to him in silence with downcast eyes until the paternal recriminations moved on to his mother, who defended him as always. He's as handsome as an archangel. While he slipped unseen to his room and left them there to argue with each other, according to a well-established tactic. The metric reading and the translation are going very well. I say at the end, now let's hear the commentary. How would you define this ode?
Define it how?
Try giving it a title.
It already has. However, I think it is wrong.
In what sense?
In the sense that jealousy has nothing to do with it.
I'm about to inform him that his hunch is probably correct when his cell phone rings.
Sorry,
he says and gets up to answer. I pick up the magazine and pretend to immerse myself in reading. He says hello and turns his back on me. More than talking, he whispers.
No, I can't today.
He talks with one shoulder leaning against the wall. He turns around smiling.
Tomorrow, maybe. All right, yes.
He laughs at a joke. He turns his back to me again and speaks softly. I can't hear what he's saying anymore. This phone call has the same tragic cycle as the scene in that film where he is dying and climbs the stairs starting all over again. From the extent of my feeling bad, I understand how bad I could feel if I block my thought in the bud. The regret of those crazy and wonderful moments is excruciating. The very idea of repeating them terrifies me. I hate myself, how long I walked on the edge of a cliff, and how close I came to falling. A dizziness seizes me. I get up, go to the window and open it. Michael smiles and nods to me as he plays tennis. The hills are still in their place, drawn by the precise furrows of the vineyards like a rake, the charioteer firmly gripping the reins. It's all right. I go back to sit down. I hear him finish the call.
Yeah, okay, I said yes. I can't talk right now. I'm with a friend. Yes, tomorrow, I promise. Bye.
A friend. He hangs up and the smile falls from his lips. He takes his place on the sofa.
Okay, sorry. Can we finish?
It's finished, I think, isn't it? I light a cigarette. My hands are shaking. He blows away the smoke with an annoyed gesture.
Not really. You asked me about the title.
Let's listen then. Why did you say that jealousy has nothing to do with it?
Because in my opinion, what Sappho expresses is amazement, not jealousy. She feels devastated at the sight of the girl she loves and doesn't understand how the man who is close to her can remain indifferent. In practice, she describes a paroxysmal crescendo, a heart attack situation. I mean, it's just my idea. I don't know if it's possible to feel like this just because you see a person from afar.
Yes, it is possible.
So I think this is the meaning.
If it can comfort you, it is the thesis that is the most popular.
It comforts me a lot, thank you.
One last question. If the teacher asked you who imitated this ode, would you be able to answer? He nods and begins to list the imitators, starting with Catullus. Who was on the phone? I ask absently.
A friend.
I inhale a puff of smoke. You mean a girlfriend?
No, a friend.
I extinguish the cigarette by crushing it in the crystal ashtray. I linger to look at the last threads of smoke. Let me understand. Do you young people of today use this tone with friends?
No, we young people of today don't usually use it.
I roll and unroll the magazine, staring at the floor. I feel like I'm dying, but I adore this terrible creature, whatever it's becoming. I feel the irrepressible urge to stroke his cheek, but I manage to control myself. Well, I tell him with a sigh, it's your choice of life. Let's not talk about it anymore. He seems surprised and slightly annoyed at my reaction.
In fact, I don't think it concerns you,
he replies with dignity. I can't help but make a bit of a sour joke. Just try not to compete with me. You're becoming more feminine than me. He doesn't answer anything. He looks at me with an expression halfway between reproach and pity, gets up, collects his things, and goes towards the exit. You'll make a great impression. You're very well prepared, I tell him. On the threshold, he turns and coldly says to me,
Thanks, Professor.
He goes out. A scream from the field. Someone has scored a deadly ace and won the game. Applause, laughter, voices approach. The sun disappears behind a cloud. I look at my hands. And for the first time in my life, I realize I'm old.
Air pockets. Selinunte. For the first time at 19, I was in my homeland, the land of my fathers and of myth, far away from the northern positivism. I had lost everything of those roots, even my accent. It took a school trip to reveal myself to myself. I wandered among the ghosts of those sublime remains. I heard their stones speak to me in a forgotten language. I was as dreamy and incredulous as Ulysses in Ithaca in the 13th book of the Odyssey, when he finally recognizes his land. Accustomed to the patterned mists, I no longer remembered the sharp colors of nature. On the enamel of the sky, the corpulent mass of a cloud painted with precise shadows stood out. The clarity of the air was that of windy days, still absolute without haze in the distance. The Mediterranean spring was exploding. On the strong green of the grass, bloody wounded by the first poppies, the large yellow spots of broom lit up. All around, the silver of the olive trees shimmered. A bush of rosemary spread a bitter aroma from the small blue flowers on which the bees settled. In the subdued buzzing, merged with the chirping of cicadas, the calls of birds were repeated at intervals. Everything had the arcane truth of the eternal. The presence of man appeared unpleasant and incongruous, in some house built without love, in the obsessive barking of an electric saw, in the mechanical and hopeless wail of a dog on a chain. Among those warm stones which imprisoned the gold of the sun, the gods could still be felt walking. One of them was walking by my side with downcast eyes in blue jeans and sneakers, his blonde hair tied in a ponytail that accentuated his androgynous appearance. Spring here is truly breathtaking, I said to him.
Spring makes me feel cowardly and guilty,
he replied without looking up.
It's as if a great love has been broken.
I see it. You're not even looking at the landscape.
There's too much beauty around. I feel excluded.
Excluded from what?
From everything that matters. The beauty of nature has locked me out the door. It no longer speaks to me. It no longer tells me why it exists.
Studying also helps to understand such things. He shook his head.
No, it doesn't. Almost everything we study is neither true nor beautiful. I had already talked about it with one of my teachers a century ago.
I laughed. You wear your age well for being over 100.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. I'm decrepit.
At this point, you owe me some explanations.
There's not much to explain. Maybe it's a limitation of mine,
he replied, pretending not to have understood what my request was about.
Studying doesn't tell me what I have to do with everything else. Maybe I should directly interview the shellfish, don't you think?
I burst out laughing. Why the shellfish?
I'd like to ask the Nautilus who the designer is.
You mean the one who designed its shell?
Exactly. School tells me it's a perfect golden spiral, but it doesn't explain how this was possible. The Darwinian theory has never fully convinced me, but it's in cases like this that it leaks everywhere. Can you tell me how a simple mollusk could build a shell in the perfect shape of a golden spiral by itself?
Through trial and error.
Trial and error? It would be like thinking that by throwing a few handfuls of lime and bricks into the air, sooner or later they would fall back forming the Milan Cathedral. It's ridiculous, come on. That poor beast would have gone extinct long before achieving it.
I smiled. My strange companion continued.
And then for what purpose? He certainly didn't need such a perfect geometric shape to live. It just needed a good solid shell, don't you think? A warm, comfortable, and sturdy house.
I laughed again. His Nautilus was comic bookish. He was picturing it as a little old man with a cold feeling in a cloth coat and a woolen cap, a sort of Geppetto, when he goes out in the middle of winter to buy the spelling book. Warm maybe not at the bottom of the sea, but I get the idea.
As you can see, studying doesn't explain essential things.
Then why do you keep studying if you think it's all useless?
Not everything. I said almost everything.
What would you save? He pulled a book out of his backpack and showed it to me.
This, for example.
I shook my head. You won't get very far if you look for the answer there. If you want to understand something, read Marx, Engels, Feuerbach. Or if you want to get into fiction, read Orwell. He opens your eyes to pretty much everything. He grew dark.
So you don't like Plato?
You cannot fail to like Plato. He writes very well and is an extraordinary thinker. But I think he misleads in many ways. Think, for example, of his political model. It's chillingly totalitarian.
Plato is not just his political model, and then it's not like Marx's is much better.
You're joking, I hope. He shook his head, serious.
Not too much. In any case, even Marx's perspective is short-sighted.
Short-sighted? I was about to burst out, "What the hell are you saying?" But I corrected myself in time. In what sense?
In the sense that the class struggle and the dictatorship of the proletariat could at best solve the problems of the Western world. But it remains a struggle between the privileged.
I laughed. You're fantastic. I understand that you are definitely upper class, but how can you define privilege the workers exploited by their bosses?
We are all privileged in this part of the world. The real desperate ones are the others, those who don't even have water. And then it's not just us on the planet. There are all the other living creatures as well. You and your friends are late on everything. You focus on a false target. The real problem is that we humans continue to grow exponentially.
I sighed. Your generation is going in a wrong and dangerous direction. You know that all of this is a distraction, right?
Sorry, what do you mean?
I mean that shifting our focus to problems we can't solve only serves as an excuse for not solving the problems that are within our reach. This way, nobody does anything, because everything is thrown into one pot, and it all seems useless and impossible. It's like when someone says, "I give up playing because I'll never be like Mozart." Bullshit, come on.
This is a problem that must be solved, Antonio.
The problem of overpopulation? And how? With mass extermination?
That's exactly what we'll get to if we don't find a solution quickly.
And do you find the solution in Plato?
No. What does that have to do with it? Or rather, I haven't found it yet.
Personally, if I have to stick to the ancient, I prefer Aristotle. How can you trust someone who mixes rational argumentation with a brothel-like sensuality? Think of the end of the Symposium or the beginning of the Charmides, when Socrates peeks into the boy's tunic.
I find them beautiful.
You must be someone who believes in divine madness.
Yes, exactly.
I shrugged and sighed. I asked him for the book, opened it and read in a declamatory tone. So the soul, in doing this, ferments altogether and quivers, and that irritation of the gums which comes to children who are teething, as soon as they begin to erupt, that itch and annoyance, this precise sensation, feels the soul of the one who begins to sprout wings. It ferments and becomes irritated and feels a tickling while he sprouts wings. I closed the book and returned it to him without commenting.
For someone who doesn't like Plato, you know him almost by heart. You found the passage at the first shot.
I didn't pick up the provocation and replied with a question. Vertiginous speculative height or delirium from psychotropic drugs?
Vertiginous height, no doubt.
I shook my head. The sun was dazzling me, so I put on my sunglasses.
The sunglasses suit you well,
he said with a bit of shyness. Thank you. You should wear them too, with those light blue eyes.
They're not light blue, they're dark blue.
Lighter than mine, anyway. I have another pair if you want. They're Persols. He accepted them gratefully and put them on. They seemed made for him. They fit him perfectly. However, I continued to get back to Plato. It's difficult to judge when moving in this borderline zone.
I have Thomas Mann on my side,
he replied. What a great example you've chosen. Von Aschenbach, by dint of believing in the Phaedrus, meets a bad end. Trust me, Plato's philosophy is borderline. At times, it resembles more the brilliant invention of an artist than the rational speculation of a philosopher. Aristotle said it too. And the height of the irony is that Plato kicks artists out of his ideal state, when he himself is a great artist.
Somebody said that the history of philosophy is just a big commentary on Plato. There must be a reason.
It's just an opinion like any other. To stay on your ground, it's doxa, not aletheia. He put the book back in his backpack without replying. We continued walking in silence for a while. We had arrived at Temple C and were skirting the peristyle, walking through the majestic corridors made of blocks of blonde sandstone. I couldn't help but notice how well they matched his hair and the light color of his skin, as if a bas-relief had emerged from the stone and come to life. And that girl, I asked him suddenly, is she also part of your project of divine madness? He blushed suddenly.
Who are you referring to?
That washed-out blonde. What's her name?
Ah, you mean Elettra.
He took his time. Then he lowered his head and replied,
No, she has nothing to do with the divine madness. She's more of a matter of the dark horse, I think.
The nasty beast.
Yes, a nasty beast. In fact, I've cut it off. I couldn't stand her anymore.
I grunted my approval, nodding my head. That relationship bothered me. It degraded his image. Seeing him drive away with her every night to have sex on the banks of the Po River irritated and nauseated me. Not to mention that I feared that some passing police officer would catch and arrest them for obscene in a public place. In any case, it was a grotesque pastime, since there was nothing serious between them. I hate being sexist, but I couldn't help but comment. Women can be squalid. Yes, he confirmed, and didn't say anything else. The air was saturated with a light warmth. We stopped in the shade of a ruin, on blocks of golden stone, while our companions took their place on the lawn and pulled out sandwiches. I nodded a greeting to the chaperones, the young gym professor, and the beautiful art history teacher, among whom there was clearly something going on. I sat down with him behind a crumbling wall. Wrapped in my parka, I felt overheated. I took it off and started picking up stones, trying to hit an empty tomato can left by some idiot. He, with his back against a column, stared into space with his arms folded. After a few minutes, I broke the silence. Sometimes I wonder how we can be friends, you and I. If you think about it, we have nothing in common. You remind me of Conradin.
The newfound friend of Reunion? That's not a good comparison.
I know.
Anyway, it's not true that we have nothing in common. We have many things, including music.
The music I like is not the same as you like.
That's not true, and you know it. I listen to a lot of stuff from the 60s and 70s. It's you, rather, who don't bother to listen to my music. And then, there's no need to be similar to be friends.
Do you think so? I think we need.
I'm sorry, I'm doing everything I can to.
To what? I had the distinct impression that he was about to say, to please you, but he fell silent and didn't finish the sentence. I continued, there's something about you that escapes me, something you're hiding from me.
What I'm hiding belongs to the past, and is something only mine. Digging it up would serve no purpose, except to make me feel bad. There's nothing I'm hiding from you, among the things that concern you.
That's not true either, and you know it. Your black horse belongs to the present. It's an important component of your character, and you had hidden it from me. I'm a rational person. I don't like shadows. You never know what might come out of them. Those who live in the shadows can stab you in the back. I would like to understand who I'm dealing with, if I'm to be your friend.
I didn't hide it from you,
he said, a little dejected.
It was in the sunlight, and I've already told you that I myself don't understand what happened to me.
Anyway, that's not what I was referring to. You're also hiding something else from me, something that concerns me. He was silent for a moment, then said,
Can I be honest?
You must. I continued throwing stones into the can, waiting for the rest of the speech.
There's actually something I've never dared to tell you.
Dare now.
I really admire you, Antonio, but there are things about you that I don't appreciate.
Like what?
Like when we're all sitting on the floor passing around a joint and you sing a song while playing the guitar. It's childish and beneath you. It's meant to make us all feel good, but man is not good. You are very intelligent, and you cannot fail to understand this. It bothers me that you get involved in these.
Bullshit, I concluded, throwing a rock at the can.
Bullshit, exactly. But it serves a purpose. It appeals to the kids. You did it to me too. You're a politician, and you think like a politician, right? You do some bullshit to please the people.
Man is a political animal.
Don't answer me with cliches, please. It's not fair.
I resumed methodically throwing pebbles in silence.
Did I offend you?
He asked me, a little alarmed. No.
I absolutely didn't mean to offend you. I like being with you seriously. I've been very lonely lately. I've been pretty down, even though I've never talked to you about it.
Maybe someday you'll tell me what you've had.
It doesn't matter. What's important is that now I feel much better.
I sighed, waking up from that kind of torpor. I got up, took the can of tomatoes, emptied it of the stones, and put it in a bag, ready to throw it in the first bin I could find. All right, we'll talk about it another time. I said to him, playfully ruffling his hair. Now let's eat something. Come on, it's past 1 o'clock. He smiled, feeling better. I took a sandwich and a beer out of my backpack. He did the same with his veggie sandwich and his fruit juice. We ate sitting in the shade, then lay down in peaceful silence to watch the clouds. Then the sky clouded over, the light grew dim, and a beam of opaque rays, filtering through the roughness of the ruin, fell on my companion's somewhat muddy left shoe. He rummaged through his backpack for his K-way and put it on, undid his ponytail by shaking his head, and gathered his hair again on the nape of his neck. A smell of hay and thunderstorms wafted through the air. Unexpectedly, we were submerged by the violent downpour. We watched the stampede of our companions who ran to the bus, while an intense smell of wet dust rose from the ground, and a dense curtain of rain surrounded our ruin, transforming it into a warm, muffled, protective hood. We were alone. A hexameter came to my mind. Ille dies primus leti primusque malorum. He shivered.
I'm cold.
It's not cold at all. Indeed, it's very hot. I objected, laughing. Maybe you're not feeling well.
You're right. I'm not feeling so well.
He was chattering his teeth. Here, I said, take my parka. I wrapped it around his shoulders. He clung to it with his fingers and clenched his jaw in an unnatural contraction. Then he turned to look at me in an absurd, almost pleading way, and let himself fall onto my chest with the abandon of a child.
See me, feel me, touch me, feel me, see me, feel me, touch me, feel me.
Of what happened next, I keep a memory made up of fragments, a sense not of shame but of astonishment, the glassy silence, the sound of the rain, the sand in my clenched jaw, a musky smell of withered butterflies, dreamlike gestures without depth, without echo, my hands too rough for the silk of his hair.
Touch me, feel me. Listening to you, I get the music. Gazing at you, I get the heat. Following you, I climb the mountain. I get excitement at your feet. Right behind you, I see the millions on you. I see the glory from you. I get story. Listening to you, I get the music.
In the end, he stood up first and looked outside.
Let's go. The rain has stopped.
I stood up too, unsteady on my legs, hunching my shoulders as if under a leaden cloak.
There's something strange,
he said as we walked towards the bus. What? I asked him. He shook his head and burst into a short laugh that stabbed me in the back. Then, suddenly serious again, he replied,
I don't know. We're flying downwards.
The return flight by plane was a madman's sick dream. I sat by the window. He sat next to me and leaned his arm against mine. I looked outside, gasping for air in the thick heat. Someone came to ask me something about the strike planned for next week. He answered in my place, saying seriously that it was not the time, that it was better to resolve the matter at the table. My eyes wavered. I had an incurable grimace on my face. My companions looked at me in amazement and left without replying. Emmanuel was afraid of flying, and during takeoff he clung to me. He closed his eyes and bent a leg against his chest, resting his sneaker on the seat to hide the gesture of his left hand seeking mine. It was raining. The plane was going through continuous turbulence. I saw lightning strike around us, illuminating the blackness of the clouds as day. His fear turned into excitement. With every air pocket, his hand pressed mine. His chest rose in slow breaths. He had feverishly shining eyes. He spread the K-way on his lap to cover our movements. Then he got up without saying anything and went to the bathroom. After a few minutes, I followed him. At the threshold, he turned to look at me. I was sucked into the vortex of his eyes. I waited a few minutes between his return and mine. When I sat back down, he was lying with his eyelids closed and the ineffable expression of an archaic statue on his face. As I straddled his legs to sit down, I caught the looks of my companions and professors. There was no reproach or irony in their eyes, only a mute, inexpressible dismay. Our story only lasted a few weeks. I loved every moment spent with him, but his gentle, cold passivity mortally wounded me. Emmanuel let me do as I pleased, but it was evident that he didn't desire me. I remembered distinctly our last time together. We were in my attic. Suddenly he got up from the sofa and put on This Is the Day by Captain Beefheart, a song on which we had a serious difference of opinion a few days before. I considered the entire album unworthy of the captain, while Emmanuel appreciated it. I had pointed out that his tastes were a bit too commercial for a connoisseur, which he boasted of being. And this had offended him, but I had not realized how deeply. I still remember my speech. Well, I don't expect you to appreciate an experiment in deconstructing all musical stereotypes like Trout Mask Replica, but you can't even reduce yourself to easy listening, my boy. He had simply replied,
It seems to me that you haven't grasped the irony of the lyrics.
He had emptied a glass of tequila in one breath and had collapsed onto my bed, reaching out an arm towards me. I had been surprised by his passivity in the face of my provocation. I believe he was waiting for the right moment to give me an exemplary lesson, and that moment had arrived. He lay down on the sofa with his face resting on his forearm and remained silent, watching me for the entire duration of the song. For 4 minutes and 56 seconds, while the poignant phrasing of that suddenly sublime guitar embroidered indelible scars on my heart, I was forced to endure the torture of his beautiful face, and the clear frame of his hair scattered on the black pillow, the stagnant blue of his steady and absent eyes, a hint of a smile on his lips, his mind elsewhere. elsewhere. The message was clear. He knew he was desired, but this time he wouldn't let himself fall onto my bed. In the end, he got up without a word, turned off the stereo, and slung the jacket over his shoulder. On the threshold, he turned around.
"See you at school,"
he said coldly, and left. I collapsed onto the sofa and downed the bottle of tequila. My heart rate was racing as if I had run up the 5 flights of stairs to my attic. In that moment, I understood that to love Emmanuel, one had to have a heart of asbestos. He was killing me. I stopped looking for him. He did nothing to see me again. I soon returned to my place of combat, the usual champion of reason against the rampant irrationalism of the most extreme fringe of the struggle. But I had become verbose and professorial, and sometimes someone would whistle at me, because, through the cracks of the ancient adamant charisma, broken glass and bottle bottoms could be seen glinting. Sometimes I would find him sitting on the floor of the assembly hall during the assemblies, like first time. He would wave to me with a smile. If I met him along the corridors, we exchanged casual talk about the weather and school. He always answered politely, without the slightest allusion to what had been, until a gesture, an involuntary look, brought that smell of withered butterflies back to my nostrils, and then I would walk away with an imbecile smile. Now I'm in my 2nd year of law school and I'm engaged. I don't really think I'll become a politician.
Love came to stay. This kiss is for the first time, and this kiss is for that time. Love to ride.
Weeds. Antinous committed suicide. It was not an accident. This I thought today as I returned from school, passing through the suburbs, and every glimpse of peeling wall hurt my eyes. Every stench of garbage turned my stomach. Every billboard raped me with its idiocy. I felt the air burn on living flesh. I walked close to the walls like a drunk. I was oppressed by a terrible premonition of a nightmare, as if at any moment the buildings were to collapse, the asphalt of the streets to open up torn by chasms, a pestilential smoke spreading from the subsoil suffocating me. I couldn't wait to lock myself in my room. Back home I was greeted by the daily slap of my privileges and felt even worse. Nothing belongs to me, I deserved nothing. I was born by chance into a family of rich people, in spite of the myth of heir. This aspect of Platonic philosophy seems so absurd to me now. Maybe he was right. If only he'd come back for me. But I'm not even able to give up all this. I live in luxury while half the world starves. I know it's not my fault, but I feel like shit. I can't get rid of the feeling that my whole world is about to collapse. Tick-tock. The bomb is about to explode, and in the meantime, we go to the beautician. A conditioned reflex prompts me to turn on the stereo, but I immediately turn it off. I can't listen to music anymore. You've confused me. I don't know what I should like anymore. It's like being constantly under the scrutiny of your stern and ironic gaze. I hated this feeling. If you were here, I'd tell you. And then I'd tell you to put whatever you like on the plate, and I'd listen to it with you. Why didn't you stop me that day? You had plenty of time to do it. I walked down 5 flights of stairs in slow motion. God, I've never felt so confused. I sure know what I will never listen to again. Moon in June. I enter the bathroom. In the mirror, there is a guy disguised as a young idiot. Not a single detail that doesn't say, "Look at me." I had never considered the difficulty of being beautiful. It sounds like a privilege, but it's a terrible ripoff. One has to be very stupid or very cynical to consider it a privilege. What is beauty? Is it really the short circuit that rekindles the spark of the original idea? And why then does beauty almost always distance one from the good, from the right, from the truth? It is a fact that everyone accepts anything from me, including the most aberrant behaviors, just because they like me. Females like me as well as males, so everything is allowed to me. I'm technically bisexual, lately more gay than bisexual, and this is very trendy today. Why does my era express itself in such a stupid way? Trendy, gay, bisexual. I hated the term gay. From now on, I will write it as it is pronounced in Italian. G-H-E-I. It makes the stupidity of the word more evident. If you were here, I would write it in a notebook. I would show it to you and you would laugh about it with me. If only you'd come back looking for me. It's been more than a month since the last time, and in the corridors you raise your arm to greet me. Hi, handsome, how are you doing? And you carry on going on talking to someone else. The day will soon come when not even music can save me. It will no longer be music. It will be showbiz, as Kurt said. It will be a catwalk for male and female models, decorative and ambiguous beings of uncertain sex, and people will be moved by their sentimental problems, because people are stupid and they like weird things. Hollywood male star is dating model Emmanuel Kellerman. The two of us, hand in hand with our leashed poodle through the streets of Los Angeles. Then at Gay Pride with the rumpled Armani suit and hair pulled back to appear spontaneous, normal, casual. We ostentatiously kiss in front of the paparazzi. We announce to the interviewer that we will soon be renting a uterus and having a baby of our own. It's our right. God, it's cool to have gay millionaire rights. And the rights of those who have nothing? What about the street children who disappear into thin air? The children kidnapped, the children tortured to death to get the aphrodisiac drug for some old billionaire pig. I would like to kill some of them, rip off their genitals and feed them to their dog. King Eketus, merciless slaughterer of men, with his sword, will cut off your nose and ears. Then he will rip off your genitals and give them to eat, raw to the dogs. Homer, yes, he is decidedly trendy. I hate the idea of having seemed like this. I don't want to become like this for any reason in the world. Do you understand that? Obviously not. You don't understand it. Since you didn't come back looking for me. But I don't do anything. I don't lift a finger to look for you. I rot in inertia. And this vomit, this cursed vomit that has been tormenting me for weeks. Kneeling in front of the toilet, my stomach ravaged by spasms, I wonder if it's worth treating myself. And to say that I've always been a hypochondriac. I crawl into my room and sit on the bed. I hear my parents calling me from the garden. I don't look out. I don't want to pretend. I don't intend to intrigue others with the suspicion of strange mysteries. I don't want to know if she's there. I just want to be alone. Others are helpless in the face of my problems, so talking about them is useless. And even if they could help me, there is no reason why they should. The problem does not depend on us. The problem is upstream. There is a terrible factory defect. As I write these lines, I realize that I am a hypocrite. My real concern is losing my beauty, which will inevitably happen when I get older. I will no longer have anyone looking for me, anyone who wants me. They will pass me by like a grave. Don't pretend to care about street children. Whitewashed tomb. The disgust you feel is just a regurgitation of bad memories. The vomiting is releasing you, preparing you for the next great experience that you already feel in your veins. We are kneaded with selfishness, from head to toe, and only hypocrisy can deny it, and only love can delude the opposite. But love. Yes, love. Why do I always get confused at this point?
See me, feel me, touch me, heal me. See me, feel me, touch me, heal me.
I did love you once. They say the owl was a baker's daughter. Lilies, that fester, smell far worse than weeds. What did you really think of me? Was I your sexy toy? Were you my Hadrian? Then why? Why didn't you come back to find me? The truth, pure and simple, is that you didn't love me. Welcome among the possible things, Emmanuel. The world is yours, as they say. You are beautiful, and no one says no to beautiful people. What does it feel like to be a candy that everyone wants to suck on? Let them do, and so be it. No one cares if you have become a ghost that no longer reflects itself in the mirror. A squalid erotic object with no more subject.
Right behind you, I see the millions on you. I see the glory from you. I get opinions from you. I get the story. Listening to
Great. The months drag on turbid and slow like a muddy river. Emmanuel, as consumed by an internal fever, continues to fluctuate from one experience to another without actually experiencing any of them. He appears exhausted by this senseless drift and at the same time unable to stop. Sometimes he sits for hours staring at me with an awkward stare, chasing me through the rooms with a completely opaque blue gaze, so different from what I remembered. There is a mechanical inertia in the way his eyes follow my movements, with sharp angles like the broken flight of a fly. I am frightened by the emptiness of his eyes that stare without seeing, distracted by an obsessive thought. He took a strange path. This morning I went into his room with a dark foreboding while he was at school and opened all his drawers in search of his diary. Finally, I saw it at the foot of the bed, upside down and half open as if the arrival of someone had interrupted him while he was writing. I leafed through it and read the last few pages with an anxious heartbeat. His style became convoluted and enigmatic. I couldn't grasp the facts. I could barely glimpse confused and dreamlike moods that frightened me. sentences in English taken from pieces of music unknown to me. I leafed through it backwards. At a certain point, under a date a few months earlier, there was a name that looked like mine, written in capital letters and crossed out with angry pen strokes. Immediately, however, I realized that it was a singular case of homonymy, because the person to whom he referred in the following lines was a male.
They told me that you are dating Elettra. Fuck, Elettra.
3 exclamation marks followed. The diary continued.
You're a goddamn asshole, you fucking hypocrite. I hate myself for loving you.
In the following dates, it was all an overlapping of emotional expressions, little more than interjections, from which a convulsive inner chaos emerged. I was struck by the sentences.
She's like a bad angel. She makes me feel terrible. God, I thank you, finally.
I closed the diary with an overwhelming sense of anguish and left the house, promising myself to go back to the villa in the afternoon to keep an eye on him while awaiting Michael's return. I enter the house with a general greeting to which no one answers. Emmanuel is studying mathematics in the living room with a schoolmate of his. I go to the kitchen and ask Teresa to prepare something for a snack. While I help her stuff the sandwiches, the maid, without looking at me, says,
Master Emmanuel isn't well, did you notice?
I pretend not to understand. Is he sick? She purses her lips by forcefully squeezing a lemon.
He's with a girl older than him.
Teresa doesn't know that what she's squeezing into the glass is my heart. After a moment of terrible disorientation, I recover. I mentally repeat the lesson I've learned by heart. I tell myself that losing him is in the natural order of things, that I've always known it, and that it's childish of me to arrive unprepared for the fatal moment. I try to smile. If it's just that, Teresa, it's nothing serious. Being with a girl isn't an illness. She stares at me with a very hard look, aligning the sandwiches on a tray.
Some women are worse than an illness.
She turns her back on me and opens the refrigerator.
Ay, madre de Dios.
I am very struck by the fact that Teresa seeks an ally in me, overcoming her distrust of me. This means that she considers the situation truly alarming. After all, I'm the only person in the house who can understand and help her. No one knows Emmanuel less than his relatives. That woman's intuition is infallible, supported by her visceral attachment to him. She knows everything he does in his room, as if she sees through the closed door. An older girl, but not only, evidently also very dangerous. Jealousy devastates me at the thought of that uncomfortable and unexpected passing of the baton. However, I force myself to let the urgency of the moment prevail. I receive Teresa's message and prepare myself to do my best to be up to the task. I take a deep breath, then walk into the living room with my legs shaking and place a tray with drinks and comfort items on the table. Here you go, guys, enjoy your meal, I say, smiling. The friend thanks. Emmanuel says nothing. Everything okay? I ask him.
Great.
He replies without looking up from his math book. The dark shadow under his eyes indicates fatigue, insomnia, profound unease, and also something else that I prefer not to understand. Teresa is right. He is not well at all. I feel such an intense affective impulse that it causes me physical pain to have to repress it. I stroke his hair and this gives him a sudden shiver. Then I leave the room and go back to the kitchen to make more sandwiches. From the kitchen, I hear his friend's voice.
Your mother is young.
A moment of silence. Teresa looks at me. Emmanuel bursts out laughing. I cut myself with the bread knife.
Sorry, Roberto, do you mind if I call you back later? I'm in bed with Emmanuel. Yes, the one you would bang too. No, a threesome is premature at the moment. Do you think Patrick would be ready? It can be talked about. I hear that he is there with you. Say hello to him. Or remind him we have to try the pas de deux. There was some smudging. And tell him to shave his armpits. The story that this way we're more natural with me doesn't stick. Now excuse me. It's not like I can spend an hour here on the phone explaining things to you. Yes, good fuck to you too.
She hangs up and pulls the plug in order not to be interrupted again. She turns to me.
Where had we arrived?
Her long dark hair brushes my face. I've been seeing her for a couple of months now, but every time I look at her, I'm enchanted by the perfection of her face. She looks like Perugino's Madalena, but with something disturbing in her gaze that recalls Leonardo's women. At first glance, the expression in her eyes in no way betrays her true nature, but observing them better, those eyes have a strange opacity, an impermeable fixity beyond the veil of irony that shields them. Does the soul exist, Doctor? I know, it's a question I should rather address to a priest. Personally, I've always been convinced yes, before I met Michelle. That woman challenged all my beliefs. She doesn't have a soul, I'm sure of it. She caresses my body.
A little more definition on the pecs wouldn't hurt. But yeah, you're only 17 this time.
Almost 18.
It changes little. For the rest, congratulations to Mother Helena. A really nice job. Have you ever thought about being a photo model?
No. It has never occurred to me to use my body for such purposes, and it is significant that she does not understand this.
Too bad.
She concludes and lies down waiting. I lay down next to her with my eyes closed. As my grandfather would have said, the world is small. I discovered that Michelle is the daughter of family friends. Her parents belong to the Roman upper class, but her father is of Alsatian origin, and by some strange combination he knows my father. Obviously her parents are more highly placed, so my family shows them deference and respect. The result is that I can hang out with the most dangerous woman in turn with the blessing of my parents. In her house, in addition to Italian, German and French are spoken fluently, two languages that I detest in equal measure. She can afford not to work and therefore dedicates herself full-time to her passions. The main one is dance. She is the soloist of Magma, a rather famous city group, and that is why she moved to Turin. She's rich, spoiled, used to taking everything she likes, so she took me too. She lives alone in an apartment near the Eremo, a spectacular open space with practically no furniture, with the floor covered with ancient Persian carpets. In the center there are a stereo and a bed with purple silk sheets. In front of the bed a huge mirror, like the ones used in dance schools, with two erotic posters of Egan Schiele hanging on the sides. Privately she wants me to call her Gertie, like the painter's sister. I think her name is beautiful, but she says it's too much Beatles. Usually, when I visit her, she wears a black satin robe over her bare skin with a gold snake embroidered on her back, the same one she got tattooed on her groin. They tell me that she belongs to some esoteric sect of the many that exist in Turin. She must be its priestess or something like that. In any case, she keeps me completely out of these experiences, for which I am grateful, not having the slightest inclination for the occult. Her boyfriend, Roberto, is an angelic-looking pervert. It seems that he is part of the Illuminati and that he organizes black masses in his house. But you know, people talk a lot of bullshit. She shares my musical tastes and is ahead of me in certain explorations. This at the beginning, Doctor, had me under the illusion that there was a certain spiritual affinity between us. It's a common misconception. Taste in music doesn't mean anything, but I didn't know that then. I still bore the scars of my story with Antonio, in which music had played both good and bad, and I was convinced that it was fate that had put in my way a woman who thought exactly like me about contemporary music. I repeated to myself that, if nothing else, I would no longer have to be on the defensive passively undergoing the aesthetic dominance of a person who claimed to know more than me. It was time to stop regretting him. I could finally go back to being myself. All in all, I was a miserable idiot, Doctor, because it was true that I shouldn't have regretted him, but for quite another reason, namely the fact that he hadn't loved me. I had only been a hiccup in the existence of a heterosexual rationalist. On the other hand, Michelle was totally unaware of the meaning of the word love, and made no secret of it, so only an imbecile could have slipped into her trap like a rat. The fact is that at that moment, Doctor, I wanted just this, that the sharp claws of a cat would tear me apart, leaving me dying on the floor, and that from time to time the feline would come and see if I was still alive and give me a pat with the paw. I have already classified as Cupio dissolvi this phenomenon, but it wasn't vulgar and vapid as with Electra. There was a sacredness in the way Michelle tore me apart, and it gave me intense pleasure. Don't ask me why. The psychologist is you. I take this opportunity to open a parenthesis that serves me as a momentary distractor. I forgot almost everything of my time with Gertie, and I wouldn't want to recall even a minute of it, if you didn't force me to do it for mysterious therapeutic purposes. However, I keep distinct the memory, I would not say regret, of our chats between one fuck and another while we listened to music and were still semi-lucid. Even after some time, they seemed to me to be among the most interesting conversations I've had in my life, the only ones she put her soul into. One thing I will never stop thanking her for, despite everything, is the fact that she definitely converted me to vinyl. She hates CDs and doesn't even have one at home. She has a great player, a Marantz CD 5400, but she only uses it to host my CDs. Gertie owns a formidable stereo system. Like all true connoisseurs, she hates multifunctional devices and has opted without fail for a personalized assembly of the most expensive and exclusive components of different brands, chosen in the light of their particular technical characteristics. This system also houses an imposing Studer reel-to-reel recorder. The sound quality of those tapes is astonishing, and this is very important to her, a professional dancer. I had already noticed how much warmer and more enveloping the sound of vinyl is than that of a CD, thanks to Antonio's excellent stereo system, another analog sound lover. In reality, he himself explained to me that the presumed superiority of vinyl is only a myth, and that the audio CD has more frequencies than vinyl. For this very reason, it is too metallic and strident to listen to. I remember hours of talking about our favorite bands, especially the long discussions about Kim Gordon and Thurston Moore's role in Sonic Youth. We were both convinced that the group was unsurpassed in its genre, a very powerful synthesis of antithetical genres, angry, hallucinated, disturbing. That the greatness of the group rested on the magical and difficult balance between two opposite personalities, not only musically, but while she considered Gordon's role to be predominant, with her hypnotic and repetitive bass lines, her Warholian culture, and the whispers of her icy voice, I, on the other hand, was convinced that the real revolution of the group lay in the sound and style of Moore and Ronaldo, a heretical style that exploits the physical component of the guitars to the extreme, not so much in the purely experimental noise parts, as in the melodic parts, where their guitars tuned in an improper and anomalous way create ramshackle effects, dissonances, and unpredictable scales with a tribal and primitive rhythm inspired by Native American dances, accentuated or denied by the percussion of their phenomenal drummer, Steve Shelley, and enhanced by the erotically adolescent voice of Moore. I remember long discussions with Gertie about this duality, especially one in which she cornered me and forced me to acknowledge that one of my favorite songs, Inhuman, was built on the pulsating rhythm of the bass.
Take that bass off,
she said.
Then the song collapses.
I, who wanted to seem like a know-it-all, answered her. A bit like Death to Our Friends leans almost completely on Shelley's drums. And she, looking at me with neutral eyes, said to me,
"What the fuck does this have to do with the duality, Gordon Moore?"
one of the many cases in which she made me feel like an idiot. To return to the enigma of Sonic Youth, the point, in my opinion, is that in their music, the coldest New York intellectualism and the most elementary sensuality coexist, which are polarized precisely in the figures of Gordon and Moore, companions in life and not just in musical adventure. The contrast between these two figures could not be more striking. She woman, adult, cultured, committed, self-possessed, Apollonian, cerebral, icy even in sensuality. He Dionysian puppy, eternal adolescent, naturally endowed with what Gertie defined as teenage eroticism, with the risk of being seen more as an eternal toy boy than as the extraordinary artist he is. Personally, I was convinced that this situation was too conflicting, and the balance too delicate to be able to hold up at a distance. But up to now I have been proved wrong by the facts. Thanks to Michelle, I also deepened my knowledge of the Pixies, who I had always considered mere precursors of the music I love. Nothing more wrong. Theirs is a complex communicative code, which requires commitment to be fully understood, full of esoteric implications, and at the same time ironic and irreverent, all translated into adrenaline-pumping, bewildered musical inventions and of immediate impact, not to mention the fact that they are extraordinary instrumentalists and vocalists. No one manages to modulate the voice in such a ductile, acid, and schizophrenic way as Black Francis. It's strange that I needed Gertie's mediation to notice this. I should have figured it out myself, at least because Kurt has always admitted his debt to them. You'll think I'm beating around the bush, Doctor, and indeed I am. No male likes to talk about his sexual failures, and failing at 17 with a beautiful girl is nothing short of worrying. I close the parenthesis and return to the story. After the first few weeks of euphoria, the emptiness of my relationship with Michelle began to embarrassingly affect my sexual performance. She was not at all forgiving in this respect, and feeling under scrutiny only made it worse. One day, while we were in bed, she licked me all over while whispering some unrepeatable obscenities. She's the kind of girl who likes to do it. She enjoys seeing me blush. My shyness excites her, but it has disastrous physical effects on me. She sat up to look at me and said,
"Look beautiful, hurry up. All right, you're a cool guy to fuck standing up, but I'm not bad either. Did you see me right?"
Of course I assured her that she's the most beautiful girl to fuck I've ever dated. Well, I didn't really tell her that, but that was exactly the gist. But she wanted me to prove it, and some things just cannot be controlled.
"Look, faggy,"
she concluded dryly.
"We're not there."
The snake grazed my wrist with thin golden fangs as she slipped off her robe. I instinctively withdrew my arm, but she, taking between her thumb and forefinger the key that she kept hanging around her neck with a gold chain, opened a drawer of the bedside table and turned to look at me with a smile.
"Don't be afraid, let me do. People are trivial. If they don't see holes on arms, they don't notice it."
I let her do, and not just once. My thought comes and goes. Something sucks me in. It's already like having sex. She looks at me and sees the wave rise. She puts the Pixies on, always the same song on a loop, and we begin. To the rhythm of Into the White with That Stuff in My Body is an indescribable experience. Even now, if I think about it, the blood rises to my brain. Kim Deal with her solitary, monotonous singing, ominously persuasive like that of a killer schoolgirl, stands out in the center of the scene as immobile as the primordial Om, surrounded by the masculine Sabbath of the acoustic guitar, which merges and allies with the aggressive snatches of the electric, literally grated by Joey in the chorus, while the increasingly hysterical drums explode in an orgasmic crescendo that simulates an angry and interrupted coitus. I try to rationalize as I write, but it's not easy. To be honest, I'm ashamed. Nothing of this speaks in my favor. A series of orgasms that have little to do with what I'm doing begin to race up my spine. Now I no longer have any doubts about the fact that pleasure comes from the brain and not from the genitals, as I had already understood with Antonia. In these moments everything disappears, my mind is empty. I can't describe exactly what happens, everything is confused. I only know that pleasure can't free me from excitement. I only stop to start again, and in the end I feel a cramp in my lower abdomen, and I no longer know if it's pleasure or pain. I think I was good, assuming that word makes sense in context. She gets out of bed satisfied.
Did you see, little faggot?
She says to me.
There is a remedy for everything.
She always leaves me alone in the end. I wrap myself in the sheet like a shroud and remain immersed in our body fluids, while the music ends and the flash reabsorbs itself backwards with a sensation of emptiness. I'm shivering with cold and the blood is pounding in my temples. I have a strange tachycardia. My back feels broken. Couldn't get any lower, and that's exactly what I needed right now. Michelle is the perfect metaphor for my life. Michelle K. Michelle then, or rather Gertie. She burst into my life a few weeks ago and swept everything else away. An icy wind, nothing else, just her. I had been looking for an extreme and addictive experience that would make me forget the ghosts of my past, and I finally found her. To Michelle I allow everything. She is strange, she is crazy, she is perverse. I have never known anyone like her. With Michelle I'm always sick and that's why I can't do without her. She responds to a very deep need in my being. If I understood which one, I would probably run away. I am strangely honest with her. I tell her almost everything about myself, without feeling embarrassed. She listens to me with cold attention, twining a lock of hair around her finger, and never comments. I still don't know if she is interested in what I tell her or if she is simply trying to study me like a feline crouched in the grass watching for prey. The fear of not being good enough makes me regress to childhood. Sometimes I want to beg her to take me in her arms, but I would make her laugh. She is completely lacking in maternal instinct. So I resist stoically and occasionally take my little revenge. A few days ago, while going to the bathroom after a shag, I noticed, in a kind of niche in the wall, a large painting covered with a green velvet drape. I usually avoid asking questions, but this time the curiosity was too strong. I asked her what was the point of keeping a painting in the house that could not be seen.
That's the way it has to be.
She replied neutrally. Who is the author?
Nobody.
How nobody?
He cannot be named.
I asked no further questions. Suddenly she smiled, sibling.
Do you want to see it?
I said yes. She lifted the drape and I instinctively jumped backwards. According to the plaque under the frame, the life-size painting depicted Joan of Arc shortly before she was burned alive at the stake. But according to all evidence, the hollow-eyed creature in front of me, ghostly, asexual, bald, greenish, could only be ectoplasm or something similar. The source of inspiration for the unnameable had certainly been a corpse in an advanced state of decomposition. I looked at the nameplate. Sorry, didn't you say that the painter cannot be named? Here it says the name, Christian Rosenkreutz. Gertie looked at me black, empty.
Honey, are you in or are you out?
If there's one thing I can't stand, it's making a bad impression on her, which happens to me a little too often. Then, if she called me honey, it meant that she was classifying me as an idiot. I decided to pursue the subject alone, and on the spot I called her bluff. Yeah, how stupid, it's a pseudonym. She watched me in silence with folded arms.
Ça va soldier.
I kept feeling like a jerk. Curious, I said at the end, Christian is my middle name.
Really? If I were you, I'd go by Chris, or rather Chris with the K. It's more Dutch and sounds better than Emmanuel.
I can't stand diminutives. Besides, I like my name. For a moment I felt offended. She looked at me with distant pity and turned her eyes to the painting.
Stata rosa pristina nomini, nomina nuda tenemos.
She does not have a good pronunciation of Latin. I've read the book too, and, in some distant geological era, took lessons from a good teacher. I corrected her, pristina, not pristina. Pristimos means of the whale and the sense of the constellation, and I do not think that is what Umberto Eco meant. Gertie stared at me expressionless.
Bitchy, you know where you can stick your whale?
Bitchy is very different from faggy. The barometer showed a storm. No, tell me.
Where your little communist friend used to shove it.
She turns her back to me.
Cover the painting.
My eyes filled with tears. I felt outrage, shame, pain in a chaotic and furious mix. She shouldn't have alluded to Antonio. Not in that vulgar way that had nothing to do with our story. Not in that tone of mockery that caricatured my role in that story, making me look like a cheap whore picked up on the pavement by a pervert. And this despite having enough culture to understand that ours had been a Greek-style relationship between a young man and his ephebe, not to mention that it was not fair of her to use my confidences against me. But yeah, the idiot was me confiding in her. Only an imbecile could expect loyalty from someone like Gertie. Doubly imbecile because I felt sympathy for someone who hadn't even loved me and cried for him. For someone who was now screwing Elettra after making me feel guilty about my dark horse. And I had stopped because I thought he was jealous of me. Idiot. Idiot. My face was flooded with tears. I was unpresentable. I locked myself in the bathroom. I stood crying for a few minutes bent over the sink, rinsing my face and eyes with cool water. Anger at my naivety exploded inside me. But suddenly that anger turned into an unexpected instrument of vengeance. I felt a pang of blood go straight to my groin, wiped my face and immediately joined her in bed. If she loses her inspiration, she is capable of putting me out the door saying thank you sweetheart, I can do it myself. I beat her to the punch. I turned on the stereo, spread her legs, grabbed her wrists and squeezed them tight, Frederick style. A somewhat Ionesco-like dialogue took place between us, which I remember as if it were now and which, all things considered, is not the most unpleasant of my memories.
What the fuck are you doing?
How what the fuck am I doing? I put you on when it's over, aren't you happy?
It's not my kind of thing.
You'll like it, you'll see, trust me.
If you had to, you could have opted for So Young. I prefer it.
At your command, ma'am. I foresaw this and put them in sequence.
You're stoned faggot. Anyway, Over the Edge isn't bad.
It's not that it's not bad. It's a masterpiece and the back groups depend on it.
Does this seem like the time to have this fucking discussion?
Any time is a good time to talk about music.
Faggy, you can't tell anymore if this is a fuck or a music conference. Anyway, on the whole, you're doing fine.
It's our relationship that's like that, darling. I replied by pushing her hands above her head and tying them with one of her stockings to the bedpost.
Darling, you tell your sister.
I have no sister, and I can't call my brother sister because he's not gay.
At least a normal one in the family. I see you looped it, Bunny, assuming it's needed. Please, Rabbit, turn your warmers down.
You see, Doctor, there was something surrealistic in my relationship with Gertie. Even tragedy had light tones. She never went below the level of the epidermis. It was like dancing a waltz among the graves in a cemetery, and it mattered little if the funeral was your own. The atmosphere with her was quite similar to that of the scene in Pulp Fiction where Mia Wallace collapses in an overdose under Vincent Vega's eyes while the stereo is blaring.
Girl, you'll be a woman soon.
There's nothing dramatic. It's all resolved on an aesthetic level. You die but nobody cares. The important thing is that your death is beautiful to look at. After all, it is Tarantino himself who says, violence is an entirely aesthetic subject. If only it were possible to live like that, like in a comic book. Anyway, to go back to that time, I sank my thumbs into her wrists, picked up the rhythm of the music and didn't stop until I heard her scream, and not in pain. She rebelled at first, biting wildly at my arms, bellowing in rage, trying to free herself from my grip. At one point she managed to slip her hands out of the knot of her stocking and began scratching my back with her sharp black lacquered claws, staring at me with hatred. But after a few minutes her face lit up with a strange light. She stopped wriggling and accepted my game, going along with my movements with those of her pelvis and panting in synchrony with me. The heartrending riff of that song has always moved me to tears. And this time, overwhelmed as I was by the tension and by the long layers of ascending chords up to the irresistible crescendo and distortion of the finale, my eyes began to weep without my noticing it. The tears mingled with the sweat running down my face, and I didn't understand why I was crying, whether of humiliation or anger or useless passion. I caught myself begging her, "Please come. Come with me." Then she started laughing, throwing her head back, a chilling laugh that for a moment froze the blood in my veins. Then she opened her sharp black eyes. Her laughter turned into an indescribable smile, and immediately afterwards her face took on an expression of demonic bliss that I will never forget. She closed her eyes again, continuing to laugh softly and repeating yes. We flew together I don't know where. I don't know for how long. In the end, she didn't believe it either. Her faggot was able to make her come to pleasure. I was exhausted, felt painful happiness, and I still badly needed to cry. For the avoidance of doubt, she grabbed me by the hair and said,
"Don't let it go to your head, kid. You fucked like a god, but it's just sex."
Then she got up to sit on the bed and gathering her hair at the nape of her neck with an ivory clit, she commented,
"Music's your blood, Bunny. I bet you listened to it when you fucked him too."
I refrained from explaining that my relationship with Antonio was essentially intellectual and that music united us for quite different reasons. Yes and no, I answer her evasively. He listened to very different music, stuff from the 70s.
Oh God, that horrid meatloaf of rock, progressive metal, progressive psychedelia, acid rock, raga rock and whatnot?
No, he had very good taste. He liked Soft Machine, for example.
Paleozoic tastes, your friend, communist and 68 militant, we're doing just fine. But there is something good in their repertoire.
I will not add anything. I am waiting for her to say it.
Moon in June, for example.
I smile resignedly. I had no doubts.
I don't think I could fuck someone like that,
she says thoughtfully. No, I confirm with a half smile. You really belong to two different species.
Was he nice?
Yes, he is a handsome boy, tall and dark.
Then I could just shut his mouth.
I can't help bursting out laughing. Shutting him up? You don't know what you are talking about.
Ah, so he's the kind of pain in the ass who, if he doesn't pontificate ex cathedra, doesn't feel accomplished.
More or less, yes.
How the fuck could you stand him, faggy?
I admired him. And then he knew how to make it up to me.
I can imagine.
No, it is nothing like you imagine.
After all, if I fuck you and you fuck him, by the transitive property I should also be able to fuck him.
She concludes, a great reasoner, satisfied to have added a possible variation to her repertoire. I don't reply anything. Until a month ago I would have laughed, at least in my heart, at his cynical and vulgar outbursts. But now I don't exclude that Antonio would be capable of that too. A sudden and poignant melancholy takes hold of me. I promise myself, for the future, to avoid any close relationship with that damned first name.
However, we must repeat the experience,
she concluded, and got up to go to the bathroom. Yes, I was really great that time. I just have to avoid adolescent naivety. It is unforgivable with her. Days ago, for example, shaken by yet another insult, I attempted a kind of rebellion. Sorry, but if you don't give a shit about me, why do you want to keep seeing me? She stared at me strangely, as if I had asked her something deeply stupid.
I get irritated by rhetorical questions. There aren't many around with your physical means.
Is that all?
Is that all, he says.
You mean you find me sexy?
Oh my god boy, what planet are you from? You don't say sexy, you say hot.
Do you find me hot?
I like you, you turn me on, I always want you. Does that seem little to you?
It's the same for me. I always want you too. She looked down on me from a height of immeasurable superiority.
No honey, it's not the same thing. I have wants, you have needs. There's a big difference.
God, how stupid I am. I must learn to shut up.
Girl, you'll be a woman soon. Our love is so much, can't count on the way the bad boy you've grown, and all they can say is he's not your kind. They'll never get tired of putting me down, and I never know when I come around what I'm gonna find. Don't let them make up your mind. Don't you look good? You'll be a woman soon. Please, come take my hand. Girl, you'll be a woman soon.
Like an angel. For some time now, Michelle has been involving me in more and more erotic games, a sign that something has changed between us. She enjoys making me up as a woman. The first time this inspiration came to her, she made me put on her black silk dressing gown and sat me on the bed with my back to the mirror. She put on Shadow of a Doubt, squatted down next to me completely naked and began her work. She smiled, I remember, getting more and more satisfied as she saw the result. She didn't want me to look at her.
Close your eyes or you'll distract me.
And I remained with my eyes closed for half an hour, enjoying the caress of her hands as they stroked my face with light touches, stunned by the intoxicating perfume of those cosmetics. Lastly, she put lipstick on my lips, spreading it delicately with a brush. While she was doing this, I bit her finger and started to suck it, but she got angry.
Stop, you're ruining my work.
Finally, she put the brush down and told me to turn around without opening my eyes. I turned blindly, sitting on the bed with my legs spread wide. She had tied my hair with a ribbon so that she could work better. She loosened it up and parted it on one side, leaving it to fall back in disarray. Then she stood up and told me,
"Open your eyes."
I opened them. A deadly strike almost knocked me unconscious. Then I began to focus on the details. The contrast between the femininity of my face, the long hair, the broad shoulders, the breastless chest, the muscular legs, the virile sex, took me to the pit of my stomach. As beautiful as a mythological creature can be.
"You're a hottie,"
said Gertie. She wanted to fuck me right away. I realized that Gertie has a strong lesbian component. She had kept it hidden from me, but that day it came out clearly. I had never seen her so involved. Since then she has been dressing me up more and more as a woman, putting me in black stockings and stiletto heels. She wants me to be underneath. Once she told me,
"You are a beautiful girl, tell me your name."
I chose her name, Michelle, a masterstroke. She smiled. She got up, put on the old Beatles song, and went back to bed. She lay on top of me and started caressing me like she'd never done before. It drove me crazy to hear her whisper her name in my ear. Even though I knew it was all an act, that was one of the most unforgettable moments of my life. Immediately afterwards, she knocked me out with an equally unforgettable heartbeat. She propped herself up on one elbow, stroked my hair, stared at me with her fake eyes and said,
"Faggot, you're not falling in love with me, are you?"
"Not at all," I replied, swallowing a sip of gall. "What are you thinking?"
"No, because if that's the case we'll end it right now. You'd be in too much pain."
That was her only glimpse of morality towards me. A few evenings later, while I was putting on Michelle's costume, I was in makeup and half disguised, wearing a skirt but still bare-chested, my hair pulled back in a ponytail. I saw a guitar lying in a corner. I didn't ask her anything, but she sensed my unexpressed question and told me that a certain Carlos had forgotten it there. She felt obliged to specify that this guy's role was marginal, as he was a sexually super gifted one that she only used when she needed to get to the point quickly or when someone else, one at random, had left her unsatisfied. I did not show the slightest jealousy, and continued dressing up as if nothing was wrong. Then I let my hair down and turned around, aware of the result and the effect it would have on her. I deliberately ignored her involuntary reaction, a small gasp and a smile, displaying indifference. I picked up the guitar and stroked the strings.
"Can you play?"
"A little bit. I am practicing play-alongs of not too difficult songs, for example Super Bowl by Helium."
"How sweet. Will you play for me?"
I picked up my guitar, sat down on the floor cross-legged, not caring about the white skirt, and rehearsed a few chords.
"You know who you remind me of, Thurston Moore in the Dirty Boots era. You have the same teenage eroticism."
I smiled at that somewhat naive compliment. The difference being that he is more than 6.5 feet tall and a musical genius. Baloney.
"Baloney? Why not trifles, while you're at it?
It came to me like this.
Classical high school. However, you have the same way of holding the guitar.
What way?
Inguinal, as if he were playing his sex.
Don't make me laugh, you disconcert me.
Come on, play.
I attack between the bars, a beautiful piece that she cannot know, because so far it has only been performed live.
Drink up, baby, stay up all night with the things you could do. You won't, but you might. The potential you'll be, but you'll never see the promises you've only made. Drink up with me now.
This time the strike is mine. She said nothing the whole time. She stared at me with a strange look.
Do what I say, and I'll make you okay. Drive them away, and let you stuck in your head. They keep them before the gym don't want, but without any more that push and shove and move into your will. I'll keep them still. Drink up, baby. Look at the stars. What can you looking at? Eat one of bars where I'm seeing you there.
You sing like an angel. There is nothing more horny than fucking an angel.
She concluded, and dragged me onto the bed by the arm. I have been singing for her more often since then.
Deep and wild, separate from the rest, where I like keep all the best, and keep and easy forgot. They keep you then before the June devil, but I'm never any more than push and shove and walk into you alone. I'll keep them still.